Okay. Accept those additions. Motion to accept those additions.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So, yeah, why don't we do Border Street since we have somebody in the audience?
This was an approved order of conditions, but it goes back away, and there's some revisions to the plan.
Okay.
You can go up to the table. if you
Oh,
want.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just one at a time.
Okay.
Just for the record, you want to state your name and...
Dan Gilbert.
Okay.
What's the address?
36 Border.
36 Gilbert.
Thank you.
Hey, Frank,
Yep.
we should probably formally open the hearing.
Oh, yeah.
So hold those
Well,
for
actually,
1 second. here.
Well, we did with the agenda,
We
didn't we?
had changed the agenda.
But you didn't do your usual thing at the beginning.
I don't have anything else to,
Oh,
There is no
date.
spiel at the
No,
beginning.
there's no,
Spiel at the beginning to open.
no,
Oh, okay,
Nope,
and
All
no
right.
spiel for.
Sorry.
anything.
okay.
we're good.
This is the site plan, and,
so what we did is we approved the septic system for this site probably 3 years ago?
yeah, maybe longer.
5, 6.
Five.
No way.
It is,
Yeah.
Really?
yeah. And it
Okay.
was installed already. and it
Okay.
already has built- Right, install it.
Yep.
So this is, so what I was wondering is if I could, one, put a fence for the dog, and the other is to put a shed back here. So I just drew this on here to show where I was thinking of two possible locations.
And I think the details on this, on part of the order of conditions, there's gonna be a lot of removal of debris and concrete out here. Otherwise, I mean, this is out by the wetlands, but
Right.
I don't know if you've been out.
This is a
Beside
ledge
that,
site,
yeah.
and there was some
Dump site.
disturbance, and a bunch
Yeah.
of people dropped stuff out
There
there.
was a lot, there's debris back in here, and I understood that I could, take out the invasive, non-native, and put in, native,
Mm-hmm.
And this is an approved planting
Yeah.
plan from Brad Holmes.
yeah.
Right.
So there's gonna be
Yeah.
work out in the buffer to
Right.
remove and to plant.
And these trees are, this was the other question, these trees, most of them are dead, the vines have grown and are killing them, so I wanted to be able to get approval to take down because they're dangerous, some of them are in bad shape.
So is this by the river?
No.
No, it's on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's just a little area where you can see where the machinery went in, and they put in the leaching
yeah.
field, right?
And the septic tanks.
And the septic tank, but the house isn't built.
Gotcha. So essentially, what are we doing? Is adding a fence?
Just want to put a fence, and if there's approval for just to put a shed in for putting, so I can store.
How big is the shed?
It's 10 by 20, and it would look something like,
What's the building department?
200 square feet.
10 by 2.
Yeah,
10
10
by
by
20,
20, yeah,
or
Yep,
Okay.
as long as it's
something
not higher than 15 feet.
Yeah, it would look something like this, just a shed with double door.
Is the shed in the, I could get up and
Yeah, was
look.
that-
Is it in the 50 or the 100?
Oh.
Wait, was the shed on the original plan?
It's in the mitigation
Yeah, that's why
area,
I was wondering.
kind of up to the wetlands flags.
Yeah, this is what was.
Flagging what? The 50, the 100, or right on
Oh,
the?
the flags
oh, right on
flagged
the,
there.
oh, okay.
Yeah, the wetland.
This is what was
flags.
approved for the building site, and I'm actually building a building that's a lot smaller than that. The site, the actual construction is even smaller than this, it's like this big. And so that's, what was approved was this shape here.
Okay.
So, I don't know if it's okay or not to, I just showed two alternate locations. This is the existing septic tank and leaching field now.
Right.
And then the fence I was hoping to put in might be something like this.
What kind of a fence are you
Oh,
thinking?
so the fence would look like a farm fence. I was hoping something like this, or, more simple, like that. I've done this before, and they're not very visible compared to other fences. They're just, you can see the post, and it's got it. And the mesh is pretty, it's even a little bigger than, maybe about that size. It's not barbed wire, there's no electric on it, it's just, open. I like the look of this for my custom
Sure.
and same with the shed, which is something simple to match more like the house shingled with,
So the work that she's proposing is in between the 100, in between the wetland and the 50.
In the 50.
What this was there's a big ledge outcrop, so the house is up on top of that ledge outcrop right now, and then that goes to the back. As Pat points out, this was a site that somebody used for dumping fill and concrete and a bunch of stuff. Are you gonna eventually clean some of
That's
that
what
out of there?
that's what I'm hoping you approve too. I assumed that that was the case, but I'm here because I wanna make sure I do the right thing. If there's that debris, I'd like to be able
So there's no place else to put the shed, right?
to,
Given the fact that it's
gonna be within
on a
this,
ledge?
within this area.
Well, Frank, where does the ledge end on this?
It sweeps down and it continues back here, and it's probably all along here, and it comes up all around. So this is the house on top of ledge.
See all the contours
Mhm.
where it comes up pretty sharp? But it's probably-
It continues
Can-
down under the ground, yeah. But
So
that's
we
the
have
top
a
part.
mitigation area that's gonna be planted in ledge?
No,
No.
that's not, that's back here,
Okay.
yeah. That's the part where there's debris and road construction.
What is over here, Frank?
I saw
Is it,
house up high, it's pretty far up, it's on west or east gate, west or east
There's a,
road.
Okay.
there's a road that goes in here and loops around on Border, and there's a bunch of other houses around and back, and there's another house. We conditioned a house over here.
Yeah, this part's empty, but probably this one up here. maybe.
Right.
And there's a house up here, house here.
This is an intermittent stream.
Yeah. This was a man-made stream too, because the.
It's
what they said-
drainage from,
The roofs and the new roads that went in place, the
right.
guys that lived here said that they had built, the contractors built some stream here to allow the runoff they were getting from their buildings and the road work. So that's what created a more, what you call wetland. It
Mhm.
probably always reached some water, but apparently became, intermittent with the season, but it was from the runoff.
So this isn't informal, obviously.
Yeah.
But she does have an order of conditions. Have you extended those orders? Have you? Okay, good. So, Bill?
Well, I mean, obviously, I don't want to see anything in the 50, much less than on the wetlands line. But is the argument that we're getting a net gain by the areas that are being cleared out and the mitigation area? I mean, would that be the way to argue this?
Well, I think part of the reason that this was allowed, I mean, it's really the only place to build on the lot.
Yep.
So you can't deny someone.
No, I'm talking about the shed.
And so then, but some of this home is inside the 50.
Mm-hmm.
So there was mitigation proposed, if I recall, this mitigation was sort of proposed as mitigation for working inside the 50.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's no other place to go on this piece of property if you're trying to have some animals or something like that. It's really the only place to put it.
I thought she said just a dog.
Well, yeah, the shed is more for, just, I'm hoping I can use for putting a little tiny boat I have in it and store, lawn stuff. But the fence is for the dog. I need that for sure, if I can get a fence in whatever configuration. This I was hopeful, but, I would raise it up on, stone, so it's airy underneath. So it's not,
So there's still work to be done in this area that was debris littered, correct?
Right.
Yeah, the work hasn't been done yet.
But the house hasn't been built either.
Yeah, right, so,
I assume this is
I mean,
a
if we
work in
can,
process.
it is.
not
I was hoping to start.
knowing what the site looks like, in my opinion, if we can somehow make the argument that the shed needs to go there, and then we pick up something in the back, then I'd be willing to look at it.
Well, I think we need to do a site visit and see what everything looks like.
If the shed is a problem, could I at least put a fence in? That's probably more critical for me than I just thought I'd ask about the shed, if the fence is possible, that's the one thing I need from my dog.
What kind of dog do you have?
Portuguese water.
Oh, great dogs.
Yeah,
They
they
need
are
to run.
active dogs.
Yeah.
Very active dogs.
Paul?
He needs a good fence.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a fence should be a problem, because a lot of times we want people put those up anyway to protect the resource area, and then if some people want to take a look at the site for the shed,
Yeah, down the street from me, I can go anytime, if you want.
Lisa?
Yeah, I just think we need to go out to the site and look and see. I'd like to see how close that fence actually would be to this intermittent stream. That
Yeah.
would be my only concern,
Yeah.
that maybe that should be back a little, but I think we need to see it.
Pat?
On that,
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it looks.
he's
fine.
not here.
He's not here.
It's my ghost. With the mitigation, the fence doesn't seem to be a problem at all. If the location of the shed's an issue, then, like Lisa said, go out and take a look at it.
Yeah, when I spoke with Ian, I said that, definitely require a revised plan under the order of conditions, but to come in informally, it really is a disturbed site. When you get out there, this area, there's nothing growing because it's all concrete debris. If we're getting all of that out and all plantings put in that area, and the house is getting cut back in size, so you're not adding impervious, maybe there's a way
It's
to
a
put a
net win,
shed in
yep.
somewhere, but in a fence, fence may be a little bit off the wetland,
Right.
it doesn't have to be right along the edge, but I think it's possible to maybe look at a sketch, take a site visit. That sketch might be good enough, and then.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking that if you, as to Pat's point, if you take and say maybe move 10 feet inside the wetlands area, I don't know if any of those flags are still there, but you can kind of figure out where that area is. And as long as putting up that fence won't impede doing any cleanup, which I don't think it will, because it looks like, to me, that was already sort of the plan,
Yeah.
was to stay about 10 or 15 feet from the
Yeah, it's-
wetlands flags. So if you stayed like 10 feet inside those
Yeah.
wetlands flags with your fence, and then I would think that the shed, quite honestly, you want to think about getting that as far away from the wetlands as
Yeah.
possible. If you can live with
I
it,
was thinking it could be back.
yeah, somewhere.
This is
You-
also a little higher. So
Right.
it'd be drier, whereas the shed's-
I think when you guys are out there, or we're out there, we'll take a look and see, to try to get that away from the wetlands flags as much as possible. And to Pat's point, if the house is shrinking a little bit, or whatever, to have a 120 square foot shed.
Or smaller, I just
Yeah.
looked at because it was large.
Would there be any excavation required to get that stuff out of there?
Oh,
Probably,
Pittsburgh, it
Oh,
will be,
definitely,
yeah.
yeah. There's
Okay.
a lot of it.
Does there need to be any sort of silk sock or anything like that? Silk sock?
Yeah,
There's one in there now
I think
that's,
this-
for the first project. but
Oh,
yeah.
okay, I was just wondering,
Yeah.
since they're gonna be digging.
probably
a bit.
not out in that area, because it'll just be moving up, smoothing it out. Maybe when she does a pre-construction, they can talk about whether they'd spread some straw, or
Okay.
do some other type of thing to get that planted. But it's not steep enough
Yeah,
to, I think, have a real problem with erosion control. It's
Okay.
getting that out, smoothing it out, and then getting those plants in. And I think as long as it's controlled up in here, and when she does that house, literally, you're gonna be building on a rock.
Yeah, it's all, it is.
It's not even a real foundation.
The
It's,
foundation's purely painted ledge, there's no real, there's a
It's
little
like
bit
that
of
one in the-
excavation over here because,
On the end,
yeah, that's.
the one that guy built in the ledge,
yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, for you to know, you got your orders on January 9th, 2013.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Wow.
January 9th.
right there. 2013.
Okay.
Good for you.
How did you know to look there?
I remember this. This was in my first years.
Well, why don't,
What a memory.
If these are dead, can I?
oh yeah, take a look at
Because it's
the,
dangerous to have these things.
certainly take a look.
I saw them there, pretty good off, so
Okay.
This one's still here. It was
Yeah, so what do we
supposed
call that, pruning and maintenance, yeah,
yeah, if you can, they may be too far gone.
yeah.
to- Yeah, they're, the vines have taken over the back.
Do you have, have you corresponded by email?
Yes.
Okay. So, how do you want Ian to set up a,
Yeah, I mean, as you get closer in with a builder and an excavator, let us
Okay.
know and we can
Okay.
have you in for a revised plan date.
well, how about, if she wants to get going on a fence in the shed, is that something that she could arrange to get,
So that would be before the house and,
Yeah.
okay.
I was thinking it might make more sense too to do the cleanup before construction starts. The
Yeah.
idea
Oh,
of
yeah.
the shed originally was also to put, I was hoping to buy some recycled doors and some windows, interior doors, and radiators. So I was hoping to do some recycling materials to store it before construction.
Yeah, if you wanna do that, just let us know and we can do it by email.
if you email Pat and see if you can set up a time, he can,
Okay,
or Carol, and they can get some numbers
okay,
together and
okay.
do that.
Sounds good.
Have you got time during the week? Some
It's
time?
tougher, but I can wait, we can
Alright.
do it during,
Or I could show them.
All right.
okay,
Okay.
great, thank you so much.
Yeah, good luck
Thanks for
with
coming
that.
in,
Best of luck.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I understand.
Bye-bye.
So, Richard, you wanna,
It's 6:30, so we were to have a continuation of 23 Sunset Road. There's been a request for a continuance, so this, obviously, no one's here for it anyway.
Mr. Morse is here.
Yes, but he asked for the continuance, so, so we need a motion to continue Sunset Road for 2 weeks, I believe.
Do we need a date and time or not?
2 weeks. I'll give you
Yeah.
the date and time when you tell me, give me an order, give me a,
Okay, I make a motion to continue 23 Sunset Road to
March
dot.
March 15th at 6:30.
March 15th at 6:30.
All in favor?
Aye.
Recluse.
What's that?
I'm recluse from.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're good.
So we can't go to McElvey till 6:50.
We have an RDA.
We have a 6:45
Oh,
after the
yeah.
6:50.
How'd that happen?
This one was expected to be a long one.
Oh, okay. So let's do this IDA. On March 1st of 2017, March 1st, 2017, during our 6:15 meeting at Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Gregory Piasecki
Sure.
for determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw to repair a septic system located at 133 Maple Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Gregory Morse. I'm a registered engineer with Morse Engineering, representing Greg Piasecki, the applicant, as well as the Nancy Litchfield estate, which is the property owner of this property. This is a septic system upgrade project located at 133 Maple Street. To familiarize you with the plan, Maple Street is at the bottom of the page. The property line is shown in bold. It's approximately half an acre in size. The topography generally slopes to the right or to the south. Off-site, we have a bordering vegetated wetland that was delineated by Brad Holmes in blue. Off of that, in red, is the 50-foot buffer zone, and in green, the 100-foot buffer zone. We also have off-site to the south a perennial river. The perennial river, Brad mapped the mean annual high water marks, extending off of that, which includes the entire subject properties, the 200-foot riverfront area. The house right now is a 4-bedroom house. It has a cesspool in the backyard right here inside the 100-foot buffer that failed a Title V inspection. The house is up for sale. We've proposed to put a new septic system in the backyard. It would have a 1,500-gallon septic tank, a 1,000-gallon pump chamber, and then a pressure-dosed soil absorption system located here. The system itself is located, it's a setback of 90 feet from the bordering vegetated wetlands. The system itself is mounded in elevation. There's high groundwater at this site. The grading associated with it extends down to 60 feet from the bordering vegetated wetlands. All of this area right now is lawn surface. We're not taking down any significant vegetation to do this project. At the down gradient limit of work, we're proposing a straw wattle for erosion control. This riverfront standards 10.58 exempt septic system upgrade projects where you're not proposing an increase in flow. I will mention as well that river is a tributary to the town's drinking water supply. As such, per Title V, it has a 200-foot setback to it, referred to as a Zone A. The Board of Health can waive that requirement down to a 100-foot setback in repair scenarios where systems exist within that Zone A. We've asked for that exemption. The system is located outside of 100 feet from it, but it is within that 200-foot setback. Again, that's applicable under the Board of Health Title V regulations. Wetlands Protection Act wise, the regulations basically make a presumption that any system that's an upgrade, it's not associated with new flow. If it's located outside the 50-foot buffer zone, is presumed to protect all of the interests of the Wetlands Protection Act. That's the case that is met here. It's outside the 50-foot buffer zone. We have appropriate erosion controls in place, and it's an upgrade without new construction standards applied.
Greg, has the Board of Health ruled on your request yet?
No, it's currently under review with them.
Okay, thanks.
So we'd be looking for a determination pending their review.
When, yeah, right, yeah, okay. When you're speccing out or repairing a system, do you make the system adequate for what the house, in terms of the amount of bedrooms that are there now, or does that incorporate some kind of growth period or what?
Sure. So what we're required to do, we design it in accordance with what's there now. And you'll notice on the plan, we've included a floor plan that depicts the actual conditions. There's a 4-bedroom house there. We're designing a 4-bedroom septic system. If we were to over-design it, say do a 5-bedroom design, that would put us into a different category. That would put us into new construction standards. Whether they actually built that 5th bedroom or not, if we claim it in the size, it's a totally different standard. We'd have to comply with that 200-foot offset, which we cannot do anywhere on this site.
So if I'm summarizing your position, really we are almost being taken out of this decision by the Board of Health's ability to, not taken out of, but it would be after the Board of Health or subservient to the Board of Health's decision inside the 100.
So the Board of Health basically is tasked with reviewing the impacts of this septic system with respect to the tributary, and Title V tells them what to review. It says new construction standards, it's a 200-foot setback. Repairs, you can go down to 100 feet. That's what it's telling the Board of Health.
But normally we would respond to the 200-foot setback in a river area, and we would say, you know, we can't do anything within that area.
So with Conservation Commission, you're not Title V related, you're under the Wetlands Protection Act, which has the riverfront standards, which certainly apply to that tributary in that river. 310 CMR 10.58 is your riverfront standard, and what it says is it says in a repair scenario for septic systems, the riverfront standards do not apply. For repair, if this was new construction, you'd be looking at it.
The state makes huge allowances for upgrading systems, yeah. They bend a lot of rules to upgrade or allow them to be.
So, and that's just one of the resources. The other resource here being the bordering vegetated wetland. We're doing work within 100 feet of that. So that's your piece here, is to look at that work we're proposing within 100 feet of the bordering vegetated wetland and make sure that that is not going to impact the bordering vegetated wetland. I'm hoping you can make that assumption because we're proposing the septic system 90 feet away from the BVW. The grading that we have goes down to 60 feet from the BVW, but we have erosion control in place. And that grading is currently in a lawn area. and it will be going back as a lawn area.
Thank you for your explanations, appreciate it.
When you say increase in flow, what's there now? Is it a cesspool that's there now?
Yeah, it's a cesspool that's there. By what I mean increase in flow is an increase in bedrooms. We're not
Okay.
proposing to add any bedrooms here.
Okay.
We're replacing what's there flow-wise.
Okay, so the proposed system is the same flow-wise as what's there now?
Correct.
Okay.
I don't see a lot of alternatives unless I don't see how I can move it differently, and it obviously can't stay the way it is.
Well put.
Lisa?
I agree with you, Rich.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Pat?
I mean, me again, huh? This is a complicated one. There's a lot to this. And how did you decide to come in with an RDA on this rather than a notice of intent?
Sure. So, section 310 CMR 10.03, section 3, I've quoted on page 3. It's the presumption regarding Title V. It's written in the regulations. It says that the presumption is made whenever a septic system is a repair and outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. It is presumed to protect all 8 interests of the Wetlands Protection Act.
So that covers the bordering vegetated wetland, but within a riverfront area, you're allowed some repairs. But if you're also in a tributary to a drinking water supply, I mean, I think this is a much more complicated one than an up or down vote, whether it's a -3 or a -2. The other part of that is, I don't know what the plans are for this house, whether this is a knockdown. I mean, we recently had one that we approved the septic in a tough location. The house was knocked down. Septic probably could have gone in that location. And in this case, you have a big area out front that you could be outside of 100. You could be maybe outside of even the tributary jurisdiction. And there were no perks done in the front yard of this.
Sure. What's not shown is we did dig a test pit out in the front, just off the front left lot line. It was on the lot next door, about 20 feet away from the lot line. We did have 2 failed perks on the front. I didn't expect to have good soil at that location here. And given the size of this, you can see the size of the mound associated with this system, the size of the grading associated with it. We didn't see it fit in the front yard of this property and being able to have a serviceable driveway with it.
I mean, is this planned as a knockdown?
No, it's planned as a septic system upgrade to the existing house.
All right. And the house is gonna stay?
As far as I know, the proposal is for Mr. Piasecki to move into this house.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it were just a bordering vegetated wetland, you've met it. I think with the riverfront, you're asking for some relief. And I think if it's a tributary to the drinking water supply, I think our responsibility is to keep it as far as we can from the tributary.
310 CMR 10.58 does specify that septic system upgrade projects are exempt from the riverfront standards.
Right, and negative determination of applicabilities are allowed for buffer zone work as long as the buffer zone does not border on a tributary to a public water supply. So, I mean, I think our goal is to upgrade systems, take a cesspool and make it a septic. I think we want to do it right. I think we want to cover, you know, what the Board of Health and what DEP requires. I wouldn't recommend a positive DOA, but maybe a continuance or find out more from DEP and from Board of Health to see if they would also recommend trying to move it further away. But, I don't know. Complicated. I mean, these are another one with a tributary to a drinking water supply.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, if it were possible to move it further away, we would we not? Right? I mean, are we assuming that it's not possible?
Well, I'm familiar with the site. I know where the driveway is. It's outlined in this plan anyways, and if you look at, and kind of familiar with the topography in that area, there are some houses that were built further up Pinson Hill, but it's pretty marginal soil in that area. So I'd be at a loss as to see how you could wedge a septic system in the front yard of that house without going through some pretty extreme measures.
But we also don't want to be responsible for having anything toxic going into drinking water.
Well, but that's the reason that you're designing a Title V system. In this case, it flips to the Board of Health to look at those pieces. I mean, you're removing a lot of material, replacing it with sand, you're mounting that, and you're doing everything you can to filter that material before it goes in, and you're going from something that's probably a cesspool, which is already hitting the groundwater, to a Title V system that works for this. So, I mean, I think in some cases, some of these pieces do wind up superseding our jurisdiction. I mean, people need the ability to replace a septic system. We can't take that away from them.
So it sounds like we probably should wait for the Board of Health to approve it.
Well, that's.
We would do that anyway,
That's
yeah.
one of the possibilities, certainly letting the Board of Health do that. You know, to Pat's point, it's a very sensitive area. Typically, this would be an NOI. And I guess, you know, Mr. Morse's point is that there's really no alternative, so therefore, they're already doing everything they can. What sort of things would DEP additionally consider, Pat, if this were filed under an NOI versus an RDA?
Well, there'd be a notification of abutters, there'd be, you know, some conditions that we could follow up on, there could be some mitigation required. We may want to get back out and see that these elevations are correct on the leaching system. The other thing is there's no detail on the flagging, there's no wetland report from Brad Holmes, there's no soil samples near the wetlands. We don't even know if the wetland line is correct, so with a notice of intent, that would have all been submitted. You know, we would have had that information. So.
Well, we could also specifically ask for the items that you want.
You know, the applicant has to agree to a continuance or we would vote.
So just the issues are confirming the wetland line beyond this piece. I mean, I understand in the cases of subdivisions and things like that, we typically get a consultant. But in single-family homes and in these things, I don't believe we've ever asked for a consultant to review that.
Right, for septics, usually we don't.
Right.
And in this case, I'm not saying we should, I just think that we need something from Brad, then I would go out there.
Okay,
Because he usually does soils on either side, he may have done them, we just don't have any information.
okay.
And what kind of vegetation is out there.
Right.
It's a pretty good slope, you can kind of eyeball where the wooded vegetated wetland is, but
Right.
it's not.
I mean, I do know that this house was lived in up in time, till the time that the owner died. It was kind of sad. She actually fell out a window and died there. So, I mean, I've been in this, I've been in this house, and it certainly hasn't had any work done on it in a long time. It needs a lot of work. I'm not sure how you deal with the issue, you know, you make the statement, you know, it is a possibility for someone to get a septic system and then decide to tear their house down. And I don't know that we have a lot of ability to control that. The fact that there's already existing home, existing septic system, all those things are already on that lot doesn't, in my mind, that's a given. So those people would definitely have the advantage to permit things over. If this was a lot that was just bare, I'd be with you 100%. We'd definitely have an NOI, and we'd have some real issues with this particular site. It probably isn't a buildable site. But this is why DEP has Title V, and it's why Title V has so many alternate septic systems, because you can't take that away from people to not have their home there or what's existing. You know, whether it was the best thing when it was put in is kind of irrelevant, is how do we make it better? And this improves this thing, I don't know, 100 times, you know, whatever it is. It's a massive improvement over the old leaching and whatnot. But
What is the regulation that you're 310 what?
10.03,
Thank you, sorry, Fred.
10.033, the presumption concerning Title V.
the only other thing that maybe we would do, though, in an NOI when we're looking at some of this is we would be talking a little bit about other runoff and whatnot that goes towards that wetland. So right now, there's a driveway and a house that pitches right to the property line and then down. And we know that that stream that's below there goes right to the Herring Brook. Is there room, I mean, oftentimes when we do an RDA, we also ask for some mitigation or some other means to protect that. If I were looking to make something improved on this site, I'd be looking about at the side of that driveway where it gets close to the property line and seeing if there's some way that we could make some improvement so that the water that sheds off that driveway doesn't all head right to that wetland. I don't see any other things that you could really improve on. And I know they're not looking to change that or the house, but perhaps if we're doing this under an RDA, we could get some protection in that area. Think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I have no,
I'm not quite sure what it would be.
yeah, asking for a continuance for 2 weeks, I would expect that we'd have Board of Health approval at that point.
Okay.
You know, and I can provide Pat with a little bit more information on the wetlands report prepared by Brad as well, and certainly look into some of those driveway improvements, or if there's something else that might pique my eye.
Is there anything about roof runoff from the house that could be done for mitigation? Drywall, something like that?
Well, I think you're pushing the envelope a little bit when you go for too much. It's something that's not totally required. I'm just looking at like the most blatant other thing that could happen there. And to me, it's what's in the driveway and the oils and that sort of stuff. And if there was some way to help out along that edge, I think that would, to me, that would be the best we could get out of something like that.
Because you gotta remember, the septic system itself is a huge improvement.
Right.
To
I
start
agree.
with, yeah.
I agree.
I just don't want, I mean, if we're gonna give them a positive determination, I don't wanna wait 2 weeks to do that. I think we gotta have some understanding that, we're gonna work with this and see those pieces. So if we really think that he's out of the box with an RDA, then we ought to say that.
Well, I think having DEP and Board of Health weigh in on it would be important. You know,
Okay.
they might say, we could help them by trying to keep it out of 100 by our order of conditions, or they might say, this can be allowed, and if they're good with it, then.
Okay.
So-
We,
Do you
So,
think this should have been filed as an NOI rather than an RDA?
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, under the law, you can, if it's septic related, you could try to put it in as an IDA. My own personal feeling was this could have gone either way, and I would have thought an NOI would have been better for the purposes of getting the wetlands straightened out and everything, but, you know, it's not in the inner riparian, it's tributary, which is more Board of Health and Title V, so it's a complicated one,
Okay.
like they all are these days.
So you want a motion to continue this?
Yeah, it'd have to be a request from the applicant on an RDA, because there's a 21-day deadline unless there's a request.
I'd like to make that request for a continuance until the
Okay.
next meeting.
And do we give a time on a continuance for an RDA?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
no,
No.
We could,
why?
because he's gonna be in here for the first one anyway.
Yeah.
at 6:30.
Just continue.
No, all right, Cal,
All right, so I've got a motion to continue Piasecki, 133 Maple Street RDA to March 15th.
Second?
All in favor?
Thank you.
McKelvey, 89 Edward Foster Road, raise and rebuild.
Nothing you have to do
Oh, no, we have, Carol, what about, there was, actually, the timings flipped around. We had one from
DiFilippo?
6:45.
Filippo, yeah.
DiFilippo.
Probably my mistake.
No, let's blame it on Pat.
This will have to go on the
Is that getting
personnel file.
is that getting continued, DiFilippo, or is that on for tonight?
Sorry, Di Filippo
That's
is
on.
on.
All right, actually, that should be first. These things just got shuffled wrong. So this is a continuance. Sorry about that, Paul. Now you'll be even more ready. Go ahead.
For the record, Gregory Morse Engineering. This was a septic system upgrade project. We submitted this as a notice of intent because it is in a resource area. The resource area at this site is land subject to coastal storm flowage. This is 119 River Street in Hummerock. The property line is shown in bold. River Street is at the bottom of the plan. It's an existing 3-bedroom house. There's a failed cesspool in the backyard. We're proposing to tie that into a new septic tank and a new series of leaching chambers in the backyard. What's depicted on the plan here in blue is the limit of the velocity zone. To the east is velocity elevation 17, to the west is AE zone 14. You'll notice the entire system is in that AE elevation 14 zone. We're not proposing to change the grades in this backyard. We're not offsetting any flood storage capacity. We're not diverting stormwater in any direction where it doesn't currently go. Again, this is a septic system upgrade. It was an NOI because of the fact we're inside that resource area.
Bill, you want to jump or you want to?
No, what is the system that's being proposed, Greg? Just a quick overview of it.
So the septic
Please.
system proposed, it's a 1,500-gallon septic tank, a distribution box, and then a series, 4 chambers wide by 5 chambers long. They're plastic infiltrator chambers.
Doesn't a tank have to comply to different standards in a AE zone?
If
It has to be anchored or something, or?
in the velocity
In the
zone,
velocity
it's supposed to be raised above the velocity zone if possible, or have additional weight attached to it as well.
Thank you.
I'm all right.
Looks good.
Lisa?
What size tank is in there now?
What's there now is just a cesspool.
Just a cesspool? Okay.
Where are you with BOH on this? Sorry, Matt.
No, don't be.
That was my next question. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
It's pending their approval.
Okay.
As long as the grade stays the same, I don't have a problem with it.
Pat?
Yeah, I spoke with Jen. There was revisions to the plan, and she doesn't think there's gonna be any issues. I think it's an upgrade. We should go ahead with it. The one question we had was, is there a lot of vegetation in the back where the tank is going, or is that sand that drives?
It's all pure sand.
Sand.
Okay, I was out there and it was a while ago. Yeah, so
All
I
sand.
think this one is.
It's all sand.
Okay, anybody in the audience for this? You want to make a motion?
Make a motion for -3?
Second? All
This
those.
is to
Close, sorry, close,
Oh,
so sorry.
We did
Motion to close.
We're already on the
Ah,
IDA.
Yeah, we're already there, sorry.
Motion to close.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Now, Mr. Maravito. McKelvey, 89 Edward Foster Road, raised, rebuild. On March 1st, 2017, at 6:50 PM, the Town Hall Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of William B. McKelvey to raise and rebuild a dwelling on property located at 89 Edward Foster Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Just for the record, it's William G. as in George McKelvey. I don't know where that B got in there.
We'll correct that. Thank you. Paul must have put it wrong in the application.
For the record, my name is Paul Marabito from Ross Engineering Company, representing the owner and applicant, Richard McKelvey. What we're proposing to do is to raise and reconstruct an existing dwelling at 89 Edward Foster Road. This is the site plan that we submitted with the application. The yellow line represents the perimeter of the property. It is bordered by Scituate Harbor to the north. There's a coastal bordering vegetated wetland just in from the rear of the property, which is this line shown in pink. And this is the 50-foot buffer and the 100-foot buffer to it. The FEMA flood zone is an AE zone, elevation 15, which is a blue line. The portion of the main house is uphill of the here is a first floor above the lower level of the house. And this is also a patio, which is below the first floor of the house, and it's just above elevation 15 as well. There are existing gravel driveways to the existing garages in this area here, and there's one other gravel driveway goes all the way down into this area here. These driveways will be eliminated, and it's proposed to have a garage in the front of the house, which will have some pavement, and the small circular drive will be pervious surface. If you look to the right side of the house and the left side of the house, you see two dotted lines. This is the driveway that's going to be prepared out of pervious pavers. This is similar to what you used to see back in the 30s and 40s, where you had a garage with just a concrete slab for each tire.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same thing. The owner has a boat that he's going to store under the house. And these blue areas are also pervious pavers, so they can drive down here, back the boat into the garage in this area here. On this side here, he also has some classic cars that he uses in the summertime, basically, and he would drive down in this area and pull into the garage here and park the vehicles underneath the house. These are driveways that are going to be used on a continuous basis, probably be there just a few times a year. Once you put the boat in and take it out, and be able to take the cars for a drive. The area you see in green represents the proposed lawn area. Again, that gravel drive that's in this area here, it's going to be eliminated. The gravel drive there will go.
Up here.
There is some grading to the rear of the house. It's about 30 feet behind the house. Existing of it. And that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Existing dwelling, see?
Okay.
They started to figure out where the
On the harbor
previous
side,
one, that's what I was doing.
which is in the lawn area, we're proposing a series of plantings, which we show the quantity and the type on the plan as well. The work that's in the resource area is in land subject to coastal storm flowage. None of the work that we're doing here would have any impact on this resource area, which is a bordering coastal wetland up below the salt marsh. These plantings are similar to what we put on this property here when this house was newly constructed about 7 or 8 years ago. There is no stormwater work being presented because the increase is less than 25%. I spoke to Beth this afternoon, and I've got some plans to hand out to you that explain those numbers. There's two plans in here, one shows the,
Look up on that thing, Bill, what's the one?
there's two plans that show the impervious coverage and the calculations that we arrived at.
You got one right here, too.
Yeah, oh, thank you.
We'll take a look at the top one, which is this one. On the left side of the plan, we show you the impervious area. You'll notice that the gravel driveway to the right side of the house is not shown here. There's some balconies that were taken off because they were not impervious. Again, and there's a driveway in this area here, which is gravel, we took that off. This plan represents the impervious areas. These are the areas that we used to calculate the existing impervious area. We came up with a total of 3,677 square feet. If you multiply that by 1.25, or 25%, you come up with 4,596 square feet. If that number is exceeded, then we'll go to 25%. This is the proposed impervious area. It shows that portion of the driveway in front of the garage, and it shows a portion of the house that would be impervious. And that number is slightly less than this one. That's how we came up with the 24.5%. These numbers are based upon a field survey location of the impervious areas that are on the site. And what we do is to wait till we get the plan from the architect to see what they come up with a house. And then we start to work on the numbers for the proposed impervious area. And probably the biggest thing here was to make sure that those drives going around the corner were pervious. The owner did not want a fully paved drive because the drive's only used a few times in the year. So we suggested using the paved one that would be this wide, just wide enough for the tires. And again, he's got a small circular drive in the front that'll be pervious, as well as the pavers in the back for the garage area.
Well, can I ask you a question when I have that? Did you say that you did not include the paved driveway in the existing? Or there is not a paved driveway in the
There
existing?
is no paved driveway in the existing.
Okay,
But we're gonna have it in the proposal.
I got it.
This drawing here that we did shows the proposed house overlaid on top of the existing house. It also shows this area that will be paved. Everything you see in yellow is impervious. It's the house, the porch, the deck, and this portion of the driveway that will be paved.
Where's the garage?
The garage is right here.
And then there's
It's-
two more garages under the house.
Under the house, yeah.
In the back.
With those driveways that go down that
There's a garage
side.
under the house here. You see it there? And there's a small one here. This is for the boat. This is for its classic car.
So the driveways have pervious pavers
Yes.
In the back or around the side?
all the way
Around the
around?
side.
All the way around.
Not in the front.
Yes.
Well, there's a
Right.
circular
Yeah,
driveway
yeah,
that's pervious.
That's shown as a blue area on the plan. There's a portion in the front, these areas here in front of the garage bay, and then these strips here going around the side.
Those are all pavers?
Yes. And these strips will be about that wide, just for the tires.
Just tire tracks, yeah.
And then everything else will be long.
So, Frank, just so I have this, you can theoretically add as many pervious pavers to an area, and that still would not add to the stormwater?
For the stormwater calculations, they're not counted. It's 25% increase of impervious.
So a
So no matter how many
It's up to us.
pervious
Yeah.
pavers you have, that still does not count as pervious.
Take the word
What
is
paver away.
pervious?
You basically, it's black and white. You have impervious and pervious.
So even though, wait, I mean, you might theorize that by having like a 6x6 square, that 6x6 is
There you go.
impervious, but the way it's
It's still runoff, et
installed,
cetera, yep.
it isn't. You know, if you have an asphalt surface, a concrete surface, something that's totally solid, then that water has to shed off of that. But in the case of these pieces, because the water can drain down around them, it's considered impervious.
Okay, well, we're on the same subject.
That's only for the stormwater calculation.
Right.
There are whole wetland stuff that's very different. than that.
Okay, okay. And so sticking to the same subject, if I could, decks are not included as pervious surfaces.
Decks that are open, I think what the reason they have this area shown here, there's a proposed deck, but
With
the reason it's
patio
impervious
underneath.
is because there's a concrete patio below it. So a deck would be impervious, an open deck.
Would be pervious.
If it had a roof.
Pervious,
if it
yeah.
had a
Pervious,
porch,
yeah, it would be
Yeah.
pervious,
It would be
yeah.
pervious,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once again, when calculating these stormwater calculations, where are we doing the stormwater review, or is planning?
If it's not triggered, if he doesn't hit the 25%, he won't have to do it. But that's, when I talked to Paul today, I looked at the plans we received, and it's very hard to tell existing footprint and new footprint. So I asked Paul to color it, and as part of this, we can scale it out, measure it, and do the calculations. Paul's surveyor, or you yourself may have done these, so we're looking at something that's submitted. He's saying 24%, and it's up to us to check to make sure.
Well, that was my next question. Where do we get those numbers
But the
from?
plan, but the plan that he's drawn here is very helpful.
Mhm.
It was a little ambiguous in the last project that we
Mhm.
looked at.
Yep,
And
yep.
so to Paul's he's made this pretty clear.
Understood.
Um,
So, but going forward, I mean, just so we know,
Well,
those are the numbers that we're used when we're presented with a plan, this is, or do we,
We check them, if we
yeah,
wanna check them.
we have the scale over there, and we'll actually measure. The porch is, 1 inch, and it's 20 feet to an inch, so
Yep.
we'll do that calculation.
understood, okay.
And this is now clear enough to do that. We can see this, and it's easy to do. When we had the just black and white lines, it was impossible to do it.
Understood.
So we would have been going around in circles, so
Thank
this
you.
helps. a
As
lot.
Paul said, once they told him how big the house was, he went out and figured out how big this house was.
Reverse engineering, okay, gotcha.
How big does it need to be?
Pat mentioned coming up with areas by scaling.
Right.
You won't get the numbers we get. We don't scale these are calculated for the
Yeah.
AutoCAD file, and they're measured to the
We'll get
100th of a
close.
foot.
We'll get pretty
I mean,
close.
you can get in the ballpark.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Richard?
My only question really at this point is does it really have to have a concrete driveway? I mean, why can't we have pavers for the whole thing and really even get under the 24%?
You're talking about the driveway?
Yes.
The bituminous driveway that goes up to the house.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that.
This is all in the VE zone?
No.
No,
No?
it's in Zone X.
No, this is
X.
a high, this is
Oh, yeah.
before you
I
even
know.
head down Edward Foster
Right.
Road.
You're right on the line too, Paul, with the A zone, right at the edge of the structure there.
Yeah, this line does not go through the house, it's going through the patio
Right.
down below. But what we did was to pick that a lower level up, so it is above 15 for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
This is the area that he's talking about, making
Right,
this
exactly.
impervious.
Weren't we looking for FEMA to define X zones further?
No, it's a different situation.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the limoir, and there may be a limoir at the base of this property, but.
Okay.
And I believe the applicant said that you don't have a problem with the cobbles where the driveway is?
That's fine.
Pavers, yeah.
And just for the
Oh,
record,
pavers.
you're not Richard McKelvey, so you
No,
must be
no,
William B.
William G.
McKelvey.
McKelvey,
G.
correct.
Pavers, yes.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
Well, can you show where the
they're getting rid of the
50-foot
concrete
buffer
here.
is on the?
And
right
gonna
down
put
the lawn,
permeable
going to the salt
pavers,
marsh.
the whole
Yeah,
thing.
This is the resource area, which is actually in the line. This is a 50-foot buffer. The second page line is a 100-foot buffer from here.
So you're showing absolutely no work in the 50? None, zero?
To the 50, yeah, there's a small.
Little
piece-
corner of pavers.
small
Which
piece
is
of
why I asked for the
pavers
pavers on
right
the other
there.
side.
This is all a maintained lawn at the present time, and it has been for decades. This is the former property of Minnie and Doherty, and their son was there. They sold and moved out of state.
So the two areas of the proposed permeable pavers, you said cars are going on top of those?
So what it is, if you drive down here, and he can park the cars here, if he does work.
Show Mark's neighbor.
Pull in.
Pull them in, it's a
And then
drive-in
if it was a
basement.
Lawn area, it'd just get dug up, and you'd have erosion problems going down. So
Okay.
pervious pavers will stabilize the soil and let the water go through it, without, causing a problem for the erosion.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
No, if the impervious driveway is gonna be, replaced with pavers.
yeah, it's all pervious pavers.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's a good start,
I think,
And in the
Paul,
back-
you could just give us the calculations on that without
without the
changing
driveway.
that area from impervious to pervious, right?
Is the town floodplain district at the far edge of that property there?
It's a 10-foot transport,
Then, yeah.
which is down here, which is in here.
Near the silt sock line, yeah.
So there's a silt sock here, just to stay away from, but we're not doing any work there, there's no grading or anything.
Yeah, the one thing is, there's proposed plantings out there, and we're all for proposed plantings, we'd have to run that by zoning to make sure that that's a type of, yeah.
Really? No,
Yeah,
you
if it's
don't,
in the, below the 10-foot contour.
no, you can't, cut vegetation or alter it, but you can install it. You also asked the owner at 85 to the left of that to put those in. under
Right.
the-
I think this is written
Floodplain
differently.
districts become
Proposed
more
pervious driveway
prominent lately,
pavers versus
so.
proposed gravel or
Well, if you
permeable.
want to have them,
Paver, is that a
limited,
different
you can do
material?
No,
that.
I was just gonna say,
No,
I'll run
The
a
bottom
bylaw.
line is, it shouldn't carry you,
Like
as
that.
long as it's permeable, it's permeable.
No, I was just curious.
Right, well, they might have wanted the
But
option
just
up
as long as
here.
we know where the line is, that'll help
Okay,
us.
I was just, I
Yeah.
just noticed it was
Yeah.
written differently, that's all.
I think the plantings are positive. I think Pat's point is that being in this zone, we just need to make sure we touch on whose ever jurisdiction. I'm not thrilled with it either, Paul. There's a lot of
If there is,
overlapping.
yeah, yeah. I've
um,
never heard of any, but if it's there and we can't do it, then we won't do it.
Well, we'd obviously like to see some plantings, and I think it's a good, positive piece for the other work that's on this site, so it's just a formality, I believe, to.
Yeah.
Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this? This is 86, right?
89.
89, Edward Foster Road.
And a
Yep.
question too about, you do have a butters on either side. Are there any kind of swales or anything to keep roof runoff from going onto the?
Yeah, we show a swell on the left side, there'll be one on the right side as
Right
well.
along, kind of near the edge of the property
Yes.
line?
On the left side. The water's running down there now, but the swell will be, more defined than it is now. It'll just be part of the lawn area.
Well, that swale on that side sort of solves that, because Edward Foster heads really back, is pitching down the hill towards Ridge.
Right, we don't get any runoff from Edward Foster Road, so
Right.
this is whatever's in the lawn area.
I got
that
it.
Come down, which is not much.
Right.
'Cause
But we're not worried about adding anything to Edward Foster. It's an impervious driveway,
No.
and everything else is headed towards the backyard.
Into the ocean.
Well, after it goes through the lawn and gets all cleaned. Anything else, Pat?
So I think, we could take one of the colored copies and do a scale.
Yeah, I think if Paul gets back to you with a change in that driveway, you're gonna have a decent margin.
Yep.
Okay. If there's no other information, everybody satisfied? Need a motion to close?
Good. Make a motion to close on, what is this, 89 Edward Foster.
Have a second?
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 We haven't closed too many hearings on the first, could be on a roll call.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Because he's promised to give them to Pat.
But
And
if
they're
they
going
don't,
to be less, because we've
if they
added.
don't add up, then he has
Well, then
to,
it triggers it, and
then
it's
he
to
has
their,
to
it's
start
their
all over
problem,
again,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because then it would trigger stormwater
Yeah,
and,
yeah, normally, that's why I hesitate, I would rather see him and then vote it, but
I mean, even if we could get one,
Here we go. Stewadia Realty Trust, Lot 1, Summer Street.
You know, I mean, I just can't barely contain myself.
I know there's some folks in the audience, so I don't know if it's easier for you to sit over there, and then you could see this if you want. Good evening.
Good evening.
Why does it say continue?
This is a continued notice of intent filing for a single-family home located on Summer Street. Since the last time I was before this commission, which was 2 weeks ago, we've made no changes to the plan. I updated the commission at the last time that we had gone out to the site, myself, the conservation agent, the Board of Health agent, and Bruce Bauk, a hydrogeologist at the DEP. We reviewed the tributaries on the site. We had revised our plans accordingly for setbacks from the tributary to the septic system. We revised our limit of work, and furthermore, we reduced the scale of our project. It was originally a 2-home project. We've reduced it down to 1 single-family home at this location. At the last meeting, attendees in the audience include some members of the Cohasset Water Commission. They had expressed an interest in looking at the project. They were made aware of it by one of the abutters or the town. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of presenting the project to the Water Commission itself. Also in attendance was the town manager for the town of Cohasset, their conservation agent, their Board of Health agent, their town engineer, their water superintendent, Scituate's water superintendent, Scituate's head of DPW, Chairman Snow. We presented the project to them, and I would say that the overall tone of that was they appreciated us bringing the project to their attention, but they did not have any concerns with respect to the specific project. They appreciated us showing this to them, and they had essentially asked the town of Scituate that anytime there's projects in their water resource district, that they be made aware of them a little bit more early on in the process. But as a result of that meeting, there were no specific items of concern and no changes requested to this project as you see it on this plan. Moving forward, the Board of Health is still reviewing the septic system. The septic system here, though, is outside the 100-foot buffer zone, completely outside the purview of the notice of intent. I also spoke with the conservation agent briefly. I believe you saw an email today. A question arose here at the last moment with regards to the town of Scituate floodplain and watershed protection overlay district. I want to bring to attention the commission's to the commission what's on the plan. The site note that I've had on this plan was submitted in October. Note number 5 has existed this entire time, and it says that the site is not located within that floodplain overlay district. Today, as a result of that email, I actually met with the zoning enforcement officer, Neil Duggan. We reviewed the site, and we've confirmed that this property is, as that note says, not in the overlay district. Had it been in the overlay district, a single-family home and a septic system could not be built. But we're not in the district. That's confirmed by your zoning enforcement officer. At this point, what you have before you, it's a 3-bedroom house. It complies with the 50-foot setback to the wetlands. The wetlands have been reviewed and peer-reviewed by your commission. The tributary has been reviewed by the DEP. I turn it over to you for where we go from here.
So, when you say it's not in the overlay district, it's not in the water resource or the watershed, right?
No,
Now,
so
the,
Wait, 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 you asked a question. and it's-
yeah,
So we are in the Water Resource Protection District, the entire property is, okay? The Water Resource Protection District has limitations with respect to the amount of impervious on the site. What I'm saying that we're not in is the watershed protection, floodplain and watershed protection overlay district, which is a completely separate overlay district, which is all in accordance with the zoning bylaw under Mr. Duggan's authority.
so you are in the water resource, and
We
so
are.
what protections are afforded there?
Sure, so in the Water Resource Protection District, it requires that the lot can't be more than 15% impervious land area. We're well under that. This is a 13-acre lot.
So I looked this site up today, Greg, and it, from the layers that I put on it, it seems like a lot of the property itself was in that district. So what you're saying is that the floodplain watershed protection area is not accurate in the GIS mapping?
Yes, so what I'll tell you is that GIS mapping, as you've probably seen when you go on Mass GIS and look at a wetlands delineation, it's generally accurate. It depicts that the district might be there or in close proximity, but you can't take a line off of a Mass GIS and run with it as a definitive location. What you need to do is you need to then look in the Scituate zoning bylaw. The Scituate zoning bylaw, section 470, is the floodplain and watershed protection district. 470.3 is the section that references the location of that district. What it says is it says the locations and boundaries of the floodplain and watershed protection district shall be as shown on a map entitled Town of Scituate, Massachusetts Floodplain and Watershed Protection District, 1972, on file at the Town of Scituate Engineering Office.
So, given that that was drawn in 72, we have nothing more current or accurate?
No, so that map is what's referenced in your zoning bylaw. In that map, which I had received a copy of it from the engineering department, specifically has measurements on it. And in the vicinity of this project, it has a measurement 50 feet from center line of brook. As we've depicted on all of our plans, and as we've also referenced in this note since October, the corner of our property is 220 feet from that brook, where that 50-foot measurement is from. It does not come onto the property. Further back, that brook expands. At the expansion location, the map here references the 100-foot contour with respect to mean sea level. Our elevations here are all with respect to mean sea level. The lowest elevation at our site, which we shot, was at elevation 108 in this lower corner. We're out of it with respect to the distance to the culvert as well as elevationally, as confirmed by Mr. Duggan.
So none of these parameters that you described change given the fact that we are dealing with a tributary?
No, tributary is not regulated in the floodplain and watershed protection district. The tributary is referenced in the water resource protection district.
Thank you very much.
Richard?
I'll move on for now.
No questions.
Lisa?
These different setbacks that you're making reference to makes this qualify with this based on as one lot, correct? Okay. So if you were to come and revisit us for the lot two, okay, very good.
Reanalyze.
Yes, thank you.
Matt?
I don't have anything.
Pat?
I think there's, at this point, there's a couple of things we need to verify. And when the Board of Health makes their review on the septic system, if they change the location at all, that's gonna change, could change the distance of the tributary. So we wanna make sure that we keep anything to do with septic 200 feet from the tributary under it's Mass DEP, and it's Title V and all that, so, you know, they're not done with their review. I talked to Greg about going out and taking a tape, and, you know, these things are really tight. It's like 201 feet from the tributary, so we really need to check it once it's finalized, the location of the septic, so I assume Board of Health is getting close on that. The other thing is, we just, in the last 2 days, have had the conversation between Greg and Neil Duggan, and then we had gone online, I looked at the same thing Bill did, and RGIS, which we use for a lot of things, shows a much expanded area that would have changed this project a lot. Showed the floodplain, which is a zoning district, as much further out. This paper one from 1972, it's very hard to read, so you can't tell, but, you know, I would sit down with Neil and with Bob Vogel, show, you know, where we are with this project and what our concerns are, because they really haven't seen any of the permits, so they may not know, we're talking feet and inches. And I know the DEP required some new information, and Greg sent it in, and did you hear back, Greg, that he's all set with,
Yeah, I sent locations of the tributary, both in GPS coordinates as well as a plan with this overlay of it, so that DEP is actually gonna update the Mass GIS website with this location. I'd like to pass around a copy of this 1972 map. For reference, our site is right here at the bottom. I think it is very clear that.
We got it today, and I sent it to and I blew it up and sent it to everybody.
Can I just?
The overlay maps, the zoning map that's out in the hallway, for example, does show that district expanding onto this property. A couple of the other overlays, and Ms. Close had brought this to our attention earlier, one of them showed a river running through her house. They're overlays, they aren't definitive data. That plan there actually has definitive measurement data on it.
That's incorrect.
And
Get there.
Board of Health, I did speak with Jen Keefe. Nothing will change the septic system with respect to going inside of the 200-foot tributary or within the 100-foot wetlands. It will remain outside of those setbacks as it's required to per Title V. This is a new construction site. It cannot go in either of those locations. I've spoken to her about conditioning the Board of Health permit that a professional land surveyor would stake out the septic system and verify those measurements upon their construction.
Greg, when you, when they did the measurement from the brook on the floodplain, what were they using as brook? That the stream that goes under the road, under Summer Street, right beside Doreen's house? Is that the brook?
That's the
It's
brook.
referenced on that, and
That's-
then contour lines after that.
Yes.
So you're looking at both.
Yeah, that map, it references the seawall in locations, it references contours, it references brooks or culverts. In this location, it references the culvert at the closed property. It also references the 100-foot contour.
Yeah, we've used these a lot, this one a lot on coastal reviews, and it's been 10-foot contour. This is the first time we've been inland along a river that we've looked at it. And, you know, we go by the town map out in the hallway, and it's,
But the
It may
floodplain
not
is,
be
but the floodplain is the jurisdiction of the zoning board.
yes.
And this is the map that's cited in the regulation?
Correct,
Okay.
Right.
under the zoning board.
Okay. I'm gonna open up to the audience,
Sure. Okay.
just for the, you want us to take your name and address.
Doreen Close, 132 Summer. Can I sit here? Or no?
Sure.
You want me to sit there? All right, so you've all seen, this is your official town map. So then to sort of back up and say, we're gonna go with a map, just because it's convenient, 45 or 50 years
Just
ago.
before you, just a minute, so that, when you say that's our official town map, where did that get printed from?
From the official town site.
Okay, but this is also a
Yeah,
town,
I understand, I read the bylaw.
okay,
I understand how it refers back to that map, and I talked to Pat, and the whole reason for referring back to the map was to get the most, you know,
okay.
best out of it. But
Yeah.
now we're going the other direction. Now we're saying, oh, well, that's wrong. 45 or 50 years ago with a handmade map that, you know, is kind of bizarre, is taking over from the one that you guys decided was the map, which it isn't even like it just, the wetlands or the floodplain just, it goes onto the site a little. It's enormous. And this septic system is right in the middle of it. So, yeah, I mean, I talked to him, he said there's case law, but you know, case law is case law. Who knows? I haven't read it, what it turns on, how it works. But if you guys are presenting this, then this, you know, to go back 50 years to try to get a house in is kind of, I don't know. I don't get it. So I haven't had a chance to talk to Neil, but I'd like that chance to talk to Neil.
I think what we're gonna ask for, to be honest with you, is probably some sort of letter or formal decision from the building inspector, if it's within our jurisdiction to do that. Because what you have to understand is when we have a hearing here, we deal with the issues that are under the Wetlands Protection Act. We're not here to deal with a floodplain issue with regard to what is under the jurisdiction of the building department. If there was information that the building department could deny this, I mean, we have overlapping issues, and this is
for sure.
this is certainly a complicated one. But my feeling is, in this particular case, that the floodplain issue should be dealt with by the zoning officer, and they have the ability to approve or deny a building permit based on that as well. So we're,
Okay, well, I would just like the opportunity to make my case to Neil, because I know Neil. and
well, the
he's a
building,
fair
we're not
guy.
talking about issuing a building permit tonight. We're talking.
No, I know.
We're talking about a wetlands hearing.
Okay.
With stormwater, you know, well, maybe
Well,
not stormwater.
I mean, I don't know if we've gotten to stormwater, because that's a
Okay.
whole nother
Well-
issue that affects me greatly, so.
Okay, but with regard, what I wanna make sure is that we stick to the purviews that we have.
Okay, all right, but
And-
I
and
just, can I finish?
Oh, no, you
It's gonna be
can-
pretty quick.
Sure, no, that's
It's gonna
fine.
be pretty
We're
quick.
here to have that, but I just want you to understand how we'll look at some of these issues.
No, I understand, there's overlapping things, and you count on other departments and so on.
Yeah.
And so do I, but unfortunately, the way I felt, because this has just been a whole bunch of
Sure has.
problems down the road, you know? And every time I look up a new law, I see a new problem, so, let me start with the biggest one, and I don't know what the purview is here, or
Mhm.
not. They were supposed to notify abutters, you got the abutters list, I didn't get the notice, however, I'm on the list saying that it was mailed, so I probably lost the little card or something.
Right.
However, the most important abutter, who is directly across the street, wasn't notified. So I don't know how we even continue when abutters right across the street weren't even notified for the project. And here's your abutters list, and they are not on it, okay?
Okay.
That's the first thing. Second thing is, I have been asking repeatedly, because I know that Pat, reluctant Pat, who's the greatest guy, really, nobody is looking at pretty major issues with vernal pools and endangered species. And I would like to present this to you guys, because the last time it was done by Heritage, and I would like to please submit that this board look at those issues before they ruin a pretty precious piece of land. Look at this. May I step forward?
Sure.
Okay. It's a little crumpled. I think that one. So you know, anyway, there's the bottom line. These are a block away. That's what's been designated, vernal pools and endangered species.
Right.
So I'm asking, begging, that it isn't just this informal, you know, let's have the engineers take a peek, because we've already been down that road, all right? That we get Heritage involved to try to designate endangered species and vernal pools on this site, and I am telling you, it's loaded. So this is the Title V map. It just kind of gives you a little sense.
Can we address the pieces that you just said
Yeah.
first, okay?
Yeah.
So,
Well, in all of the laws, it's the Conservation Commissioner that deals with
okay,
this.
so just, I think a lot of us have walked over this piece of property,
Yeah?
okay?
Mhm.
And I think most of us know what a vernal pool looks like.
What does it look like?
What does a vernal pool look like?
Yeah.
There's a whole set of determining factors for a vernal pool.
I read them all.
Okay,
There's a lot of vernal pools, and if you can see a block away that there's 15 of them,
Okay,
then.
just within the, then there's a setback around those vernal pools.
Yes.
Okay, Pat, you've been on this site.
Right, and, I mean, we asked the wetland review people, I was talking to Doreen yesterday, that, when they go out there, they're looking for streams, they're looking for woody vegetated wetland, they're also looking for vernal pools. And I believe in the statements from both of them, there were no vernal pools in their walk, they did walk the whole site.
But what I said to you was the following: if it isn't a stream and it isn't moving and it's pooling water, then it's a vernal pool. I mean, you can't have it both
that's
ways.
not true.
That's
Well,
not true.
Just,
Yeah,
just,
it might not have the depth to be,
There's no
considered a
depth,
vernal
there's
pool.
no depth. It has to do with eggs and habitat, and especially in the spring. So I'm asking this board again to please consider having the Heritage Foundation look at this and make sure that we aren't messing things really up. We're in a mass extinction right now, guys, you know, mass extinction.
do we,
Yeah,
Is it-
Heritage won't come out and check, they respond to a report of an endangered species.
Right.
Well, they did check when that development was happening, so there is a mechanism to do that, and it would be better done by the town than from an individual.
have you, so is there something back from National Heritage?
Well, they've mapped the areas where there's been a report, so there is an area across the street, starting on the other side of Summer into the swamp. On this side, they didn't show that. Part of it is that right as you come off the street, it's a large hill, so
Right.
that area probably
No,
wouldn't
they
be-
didn't show it because they didn't look at it.
Yeah, right, nobody's been,
That's it.
well, nobody's.
Well, I'm
nobody's
requesting that
reported it.
on record. I am requesting that of you as the Conservation Commissioner, to ask Heritage to look at this. All right?
Heritage, I don't think goes out and looks though, it's only on a
Oh, it-
report of something.
Well, I'm reporting it. I live there. There are a ton, I mean, not only one, but many vernal pools out there. Wait till the spring, and you will see many, you'll see salamander, you'll see endangered species. It's a tender area. I am just saying.
We all agree that it's a sensitive area.
Yeah.
And we've looked at it, and we've had the consultants from both sides review this, so I
But
just,
it's irrational to think that there's 15 vernal pools right across the street and none here. Come on, there's more water on this side than that side. There are vernal pools there, and I'll just end it with asking you guys to step up and please do that. I'm begging you.
Well, I hear what you're saying, I mean, we have paid somebody to go out there and do this, we rely on a professional wetland scientist.
Well, that was the
to do
professional
this.
that put a septic system next to a swamp illegally.
No,
No.
he wasn't involved in any of that, he's only looking at plants and animals, it's engineering that's looking at septics and
There is
buildings.
no way that they can visit this site and not find a vernal pool. I mean, it would be almost like impossible, because it's that kind of site.
I spent a lot of
Almost.
time on the
Okay.
maps today, and it's not listed
Right.
in Natural Heritage or
No, because they
on the
haven't-
GIS mapping,
They
so.
haven't done it yet. They only do it when you ask, and I'm asking.
okay.
All right, so that's one thing. So here is, in case you haven't seen it, so you see what little bit of upland that they're trying to squeeze around. This is Title V. And incidentally, by my calculations of just, you know, I know how to use a scale, it's about 100 feet from that. So it's so tight. I mean, it is so tight. And finally,
Just explain to me what you wanted this to show.
I just want you to show how little area they're really dealing with here. Right here, this is the site, after you do all the setbacks. So now we have a floodplain that goes like that you're saying, oh, well, we're gonna go back to 1972. So it just gives you a sense of how squeezed this little upland area is in the middle of a swamp.
Sure.
And how a septic system in a watershed area affects the water of Cohasset that we're now like trying to buy water from,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so my two other things. In my research, because I've read every act in Massachusetts federally, every one of them, I've spent hundreds of hours on this. This is what happened. The swamp in Scituate, the South Swamp, used to go from this side of Summer to that side of Summer, right? It was just one big swamp, including my property, which only is able to be habitable because of the brook that sheds all of the water of the whole west end, no, half of the west end.
Well,
Some-
There's different theories on where the water runs from the
Well,
South
it-
Swamp.
well,
but it
I can
does- it
tell you
does-
what, it's a ton of water
It's a
through
lot
my
of water.
property.
There's no doubt.
Okay, so you guys are up here like looking at things piece by piece, do they meet the 50-foot, blah, 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 and you forget that every time you cut down a tree, that's 10 to 200,000 gallons of water that is displaced because that tree would suck it up. And my property over 24 years or something that I've lived there is having flooding problems. That was built in the 1800s. Everything was fine. All the trees get cut down. The water is immense. We're all having flooding problems because of all of the development and trees that you guys cut down. And one of the things
Well, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't cut any trees down.
well, you know what I mean, that the
Actually,
developers cut down. I don't
very
mean to
rarely.
accuse you, but I just want you to understand that every time a tree gets cut down, that's 10 to 200,000 gallons of water through my property, right? So, that's what's happening. And one of the things, I am in a floodplain, like he's trying to get away from it, but, you know, the town says I'm in a floodplain. He's trying to like get away to get this development and one of the.
I'm not sorry,
It's not-
just explain, your house is in a floodplain.
Well,
'cause-
according to the town maps,
Well,
it is.
because you're at the bottom of the hill and you're in an area that has a stream on either side of it. This,
No, floodplain, not like water, floodplain. I'm in a floodplain, he's in a floodplain. According to your own things, we're all in a floodplain. Let me just say this, I'm in a floodplain. The the first criteria for determining building is do no harm to the people that are sitting next to you in a floodplain, all right?
and that's why the town of Scituate adopted the rules and regulations that we have to make sure that people are not adversely affected.
Well, how do you make sure of that?
We have an engineer review those calculations, and we go through this whole process
Okay.
to make sure that there's adequate buffers and space around these.
It isn't the space, though. Do you understand? You cut down the trees, 10,000 gallons of water per tree, and you cut down 1,000 of them. That water has to go somewhere. I haven't seen anything in terms of storm water management of this property. The last one had this holding pond right on my lot, but I don't know. And frankly, the well is probably in the floodplain, so is the septic system, but, you know. So that's what I want to, I just don't feel like I'm being heard in terms of what kind of damage this is doing. All of the development that you keep approving is causing major flooding for people, and I don't know what we do about that, because I come before you, I beg you to know that when they take out, you know, 1 million gallons of water of the trees, that it's coming to me, because there's nowhere else for it to go. Water is going to water, it's coming through me. They're high, I'm low, it's coming, all right? So it doesn't matter if you have buffer zones, it's coming. So I'm just begging that you guys understand really the whole big picture, not just the little.
So when we have a hearing, and we certainly have taken into consideration the information that you've given us, and we've looked at a number of things, and there's certainly been a lot of changes in this proposed site. Originally, when this started, there were 2 lots with much more development. This has been pared down considerably.
Yeah.
There's 2 sides to all these pieces. We obviously are going to be looking out for the interests of the town, that's why we serve on a commission, and the wetlands and those sort of pieces.
Mhm.
There's also the rights of the people that own a piece of property,
I understand,
and we have a responsibility to follow those rules and regulations.
I understand.
And we ask the applicant to go through all those pieces, give us that information, and we look at that and do the best that we can with that information.
Unfortunately, when you allow the developer to be the overriding thing, and you don't like look into the swamps and the Wetlands Protection Act and the watershed, because.
Well, I don't think that's,
This has
I
been the
don't,
biggest-
I would respectfully disagree with that statement, because you just said that we allow the developer and that we don't look into those things, and I don't believe that that's true. I think we've looked into all of these things.
I know, but you looked into them and still approved something that really wasn't proper. That's what I'm saying. That's
We
all.
haven't approved anything yet.
Well, I went to a meeting where the septic design and stuff went to planning and everything was okay, so I don't know, perhaps.
But that has nothing to do with conservation.
Okay.
That's Board of Health.
But we are taking this through the processes that we're required and want to take.
I understand.
And we're also trying to look at all those different parcels that have been brought to our attention, and at the same time, when we make a decision, then that decision can be appealed in either direction.
I
We can decide to deny this project, and in that case, the applicant has the ability to go to the state, which has happened. We had a hearing this summer where we felt that a site was not developable, and we denied that project. And the state gave us actually a couple of cases where the state issued superseding orders
Right.
that told us, that's too bad.
I know, I
And
understand how it
so,
goes, you win some, you
so
lose
the
some.
state isn't always a white knight in these pieces, and I think oftentimes our commission, through the work that everybody does, and the input from neighbors, we wind up with a better situation than may have happened if there was no Conservation Commission or regulatory pieces. Our bylaws are more stringent than what the state implies or imposes. And without our bylaws, this could be a larger development. So there's those.
I kind of agree and disagree
well,
because.
But there's
all right.
those, but there's those pieces that have to be taken into.
Listen, I respect all of you. You guys are up here volunteering your time, and I don't mean to give you any problems for that. I understand
We
that.
want to take the input. We certainly want to get the
Okay,
input.
and I
We-
want to give it with love. What can I say?
And we understand that people are passionate about those pieces. It's absolutely understandable.
Well, you know, I am, every time I see trees like wiped out, I'm like, oh Lord, we're, you know, in our own demise. We don't realize how important these trees are to water protection, to everything. So every time I see that, that's kind of sad for me. But this is really different. This is, if you understand, we never talk about animals or habitat, like that just seems to be unimportant, but it's a big part, all right? So when you have a low-lying swamp with a little bit of upland, that's huge for the habitat that's out there.
Yeah.
Huge. And there isn't much out there. All right, so that's it. Two final points. One is, if you look at, I believe it's under the Watershed Protection Act, but I'd have to look.
Sure.
All right, so this was a whole swamp, right? They filled the road in,
Right.
and they made these embankments to try to keep the water, you know, contained over here and over here. And that is considered, in my opinion, from all of my reading, an encampment of water, which has a whole different criteria, which means if it's an encampment that's been dammed, which this has, there's a 200-foot setback. And that's so, and I don't have all of that here, but I'll talk to Neil about it. It's clearly a dam. It's, the swamp has been dammed to prevent, and the final point, not only was the road filled, and I may be able to ascertain all of this if I have enough energy to do this. The road was filled, and also the area, this little piece of like postage stamp upland, I mean, it doesn't really happen that way in a swamp, right? It doesn't, it doesn't.
Well,
But wait.
You're good.
All right, wait. So that area was also filled to prevent the swamp from behind the property from hitting Summer Street. So if it's filled land, that's a whole nother problem. You're not supposed to perk filled land. I know he says it isn't filled, but I'm telling you, I will find the history of how this happened. And it's filled land. And it may have been a long time ago, so if they go down this far, they got composted earth and so on. But it's filled land, and that's another problem. So there you have it. I'm finished.
So I think the term that maybe you were looking for was impoundment.
Impoundment, I'm sorry, not
And
impoundment.
so, an impoundment is a dam, and we know that there's places where there are dams. And
You
I
really
wouldn't,
agree with this?
I wouldn't disagree that some of the construction of the roads and things certainly alter how that wetlands flows, and that's why there's bridges and there's culverts underneath Summer Street or around your property and in many other places, so that's how that water's channeled. I really don't see how Summer Street alters any of that, but that's,
My take.
we're really not here to,
My take, because it's one more thing that you guys should consider and go deeper into the laws to see the definition of a dam, which, by the way, I can't see how this doesn't classify. You know, when it banks up, it's stopping a whole swamp so they can build a road. It's stopping it on this side. I don't see how it doesn't qualify.
Sure.
So I'm just saying that, and I also, I mean, anyone who.
But and then the other piece.
You know, Mr. Corbin, the old Mr. Corbin.
Sure.
He's the one who told me that this was all filled at some point in time. It was filled over there to try to prevent the water. So I'm
Oh, I
only
think-
going by him, but I shall look further.
I'm sure that the place where Mr. Corbin's house was filled, there's no doubt about it.
No,
There's-
none
there's-
of us should be there.
There's a lot of places where these were filled, but there's also a lot of natural areas. And I grew up in the West End, so I spent a lot of time through the
Hanging out there.
whole West End, and I've seen changes to that, and also I've been in the middle of the swamp, and I'd see areas rise up and go back down. So I think there's a lot of naturally occurring
Well, it
spots.
could be. We don't know, do we?
And,
Until I prove it, we don't know.
well, I think that it's, whether it has or what it hasn't, it's certainly been there long enough, but I'd be very doubtful that.
That doesn't really, I don't know. I don't,
Okay.
it doesn't say anywhere how long ago it was, but
Okay.
it's obvious that the road was filled, so it's not a far stretch to say that they also wanted to prevent the swamp from behind him from coming onto the road, so they built up that area to prevent that.
Yeah.
It's, to me, it's a
Okay.
no-brainer. Okay, that's it.
So I guess, thank you.
I was just
Oh,
gonna
and one-
mention to Doreen, the zoning officer isn't Neil officially anymore. He has a lot of information on zoning, but Bob Vogel is the zoning officer for the
Well, he's the
town.
one who's like so definitive about
Well,
this,
well,
so
Neil's
talking to
done it
Neil.
for 20 years, and he still comes in, he works part-time, but if you come
Oh,
in, yeah.
I didn't even know
So
that.
Bob is there.
Greg,
Bob
do you-
who?
Is this your map?
And you talked to Neil or Bob? You talked to Neil?
I spoke with Neil Tucker.
Neil's very versed in all this. He doesn't work every day of the week, though. I know he works Tuesdays.
So, to that question, Pat, of a floodplain, I mean, my understanding is that that's a zoning jurisdiction. It does fall into our area. So in most cases, what would we be looking for? You know, I believe that Greg spoke with him, and I believe he looked at this and
Right.
and gave his determination.
Yeah.
Do you need a letter from him?
I would think something from the zoning officer that he's looked at the map and in his opinion it's either in or out. I would think that would be something.
Okay.
And then, you know, that would tell us that the digital maps that we're looking at are not the accurate ones, then we need to go by the paper map, so.
Okay. I'm gonna tick back through your pieces. Natural heritage, they've been notified.
I mean,
No.
they haven't been notified because they haven't had any reports to go out and verify something.
Okay.
So unless
Well,
somebody reports a vernal pool or a spotted salamander or something, they're not gonna
But that
get
isn't,
involved. Their role isn't to stop development, it's to protect areas where there's been a report.
but I'm reporting to you that there are vernal pools out there. There are, and I'm begging you to do it. So I don't know what more it would
Yeah,
take, because that's your jurisdiction. I'm clear on that, if I'm clear on anything. And I think.
Actually, you can establish a vernal pool.
Well, no, I think
You
if
can't?
the town hadn't looked into it, I'd say, gee, you have a legitimate request, why didn't you look into it? We've had two different people, both that have more qualifications than any of us, and
You
professional
had two
representatives.
people look into the other thing that was all wrong, and this thing that may be wrong, and so, no.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to look at the wetland reports that they've submitted, you know, both the detailed reports.
It defies any logic that there aren't vernal pools, but a block away there are.
I mean,
So
we do
it's,
have to trust the experts on the things that we hire them.
I'd like to. So what you're saying is you're not going to request from National Heritage?
It's, you don't make a request to Natural Heritage, you report to Natural Heritage that there's something.
No, you report to the Conservation Commission. That's what it says in the law.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Enough.
Okay.
We'll follow the law, exactly
And
the
then
date.
there was a piece about notification, and can we just, we'll clarify that?
Oh, for the abutter?
Yeah.
You have a green card for that person?
No,
So if there's somebody that's outside of the jurisdiction, we'll just need to know that.
it isn't outside, it's right across the street. They
What is the
missed it.
address, Torian?
The
Wait,
address is one, wait a minute, I'm gonna look at this map here. It's, if you look at their plan, it's right across the street, 157 Summer Street. And it's not on here, it's the Camos.
So can I just, Greg, when you
Does he have a
do
card for it?
notification, you go to the Board of the Assessors, right?
Correct,
And then they give you the abutters list.
correct,
And then you notify all the people on that list.
correct.
Okay.
Do you have
That was-
157
that
on
was
your
So
list?
done.
the
and it
list,
was-
the list that's generated is generated by the town for you to notify.
Correct, it's by the town for me to notify. And I turned in receipts of those notifications at the first public hearing.
Okay,
They're in your record.
all right.
Well, it is a problem if the most important abutter wasn't notified. So I don't know what the remedy is, but, you know, like the hearing for planning for the scenic road, it always happens after the fact, you know? And this is a problem.
Sure is.
Okay.
You know, the abutter could, if he's a direct abutter, he could check with the assessor's office and say,
They're elderly, she's got a hip replacement, you know, that isn't gonna
well,
happen.
maybe someone.
Let's see what Pat knows.
No, this is
Yeah.
what was supposed to be done and wasn't, so
Okay.
that's it.
We got other hearings to do before the night's over. Do you have any other thoughts, Pat?
I mean, I think I would like to hear from the Board of Health, you know, how close are they, Greg, do you know, on their review of septic?
Jennifer has 45 days to review the plan. We submitted this back in early February, I think was the revised plan date, February 8th. Absolutely no way will it be within 200 feet of that tributary or within 100 feet of those wetlands. That's prohibited by Title V.
Right, but I think if we approve something, then it gets denied by Title V. I mean, we're on record as approving something that we really didn't do our due diligence.
Yeah, there certainly is multiple overlap in a case like this. But again, your authority and your ability to approve the work inside the 100-foot buffer zone isn't prohibited at this point in time.
Right.
Your order of conditions typically requires the applicant to obtain all other local and federal permits as part of your order of conditions. You include that as a standard permit. The zoning bylaw is gonna require me, when I file for a building permit, section 470.10, it requires, when application for a building permit, I have to provide to the building commissioner a letter regarding the floodplain and watershed protection district. So you're gonna be covered with that letter. That's a requirement of the zoning bylaw when I make that application. The Board of Health, well, if they deny the project, if they deny the septic system, the project is dead in the water if you approve it or deny it. So,
I understand what you're saying. I think we also have the ability to say, there's information that we feel that we need to make this decision, and it's important for water protection, which is a protected part of, you know, the wetland protection. And if for some reason the tributary, there's gonna be some impact to the tributary, because we haven't measured it or received an okay, I mean, I think you could argue it both ways. I know what you're saying.
I forgot to ask, is there anybody else in the room that wanted to speak to this tonight? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Beverly Sullivan, and I live 2 houses down from Doreen, and I am in a butter. And I just have a question. I have
When you say
one-
your two houses,
What's your
what
address?
street number?
114 Summer.
Okay, thank you.
And when I look out my backyard, I can see water. If up the hill where they're gonna build, if the soil is disturbed and the trees are disturbed and the vegetation, will I get more water? Have you been in back of my house to look?
I've been in back of your house
You
before.
have, and did you see water?
There's water flowing from 2 streams that flow around the back of
And that
the
goes
shore.
out to Cohasset,
Right.
right? Okay. So will I get more water back there? Hello?
I can't
I
say.
will, right?
Well,
Of course you will.
well, no.
Others-
Will.
you know what?
Okay, she
We
needs to
have
sit
to
down.
take all the information that we have here and take a look at it.
So
We,
you haven't looked in back of my house,
believe me, I've been,
and there's water, and if everything is cut down up the way, the trees, I will get more water.
there's, and I'm not gonna argue with is close, that when trees are cut down, there's a change in all that. But,
Don't you think at this point in time that there is an imperative for this board to kind of look at the bigger picture of what happens down the road, not just that? I mean, it's really hard. What does one do after the fact when they're flooded out because you guys just keep allowing trees and
okay, I think
development?
we've got enough.
All right,
Thanks.
one last thing.
No, we're done.
No, this
No.
is
We're
important.
done, we're done.
No, we're done.
You've already
No.
said you were done, we're done.
No, it's,
I've had it.
it's a three.
Up to you.
Okay, no.
I did, no, we're done. We're done.
This is important.
It,
One
No.
little thing.
No.
It's a 3-bedroom septic. What's the square footage of the house? That's what I
What are we
wanted to know.
doing?
Okay.
What is the square footage of the house?
I haven't calculated the square footage. I can tell you the dimensions of it, though. It's probably about
This is
3,000
ridiculous.
square feet.
Yeah, okay. How many 3-bedroom septic systems for 3,000 square feet do you know? 3 bedrooms. I mean, it's really a push all the way around. That's
Okay,
it.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that is an argument that you'd want to take up with the Board of Health.
Okay.
All right,
I'll
just,
take it.
that is their purview. They need to look at the plan of the house, and they look at the
Okay.
layout, and then they determine the size of that. That's not our purview. And I've tried, I want to make sure we address your,
All right, I'm sorry that
Okay.
it was one of the
no,
things
but
I
I'm glad
forgot
to,
to
I'm glad to
state.
do that. I want to make sure that we address them.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so I either have a motion to close, or a motion to continue.
I would err on the side of having Pat happy that we have all the information we need in front of us. So personally, I would rather continue. I understand Greg would like to close, I get that, but I think we need to err on the side of caution.
can I ask Pat a question?
Sure.
So you don't feel, to Greg's point, that we would be covered if we closed and those other areas would be covered?
I mean, the one piece left for us to check, it falls on us, is to take the measurement from the edge of the septic. So say the septic doesn't change, take that to the 200-foot, line.
Who's gonna measure that, Pat?
I could go, we talked about going on, Greg and I.
So Greg's gonna put stakes where all these pieces are being built. He's gonna, he said he's gonna stake off the septic system, and it has to be built exactly where it's gonna show, because there's no leeway in that system.
Correct. I mean, we would entertain a condition that a professional land surveyor make those measurements and certify them to you. I am not a professional land surveyor.
Well, I think that would be the appropriate person. I mean, yeah, you can take a tape, and we know where we were with the,
Oh, right, no, I'm just saying for our purposes,
You-
right now.
you gave the location of those tributaries, so you have that recorded. I mean, we all did that together.
Correct.
I mean, physically, yeah, someone could stand there with a stake and lay a tape across there.
That's what we did with the 100-foot buffer, we walked it off and,
Yeah. There was a big help on that one, as I remember.
But, to Greg's point too, there are other stops along the way that they have to go through. But we've had DEP out here talking about protecting water supply, we've had Cohasset out here, we just really wanna be careful on this, and I don't think it's outside of what we can do.
We certainly, I mean, I did attend that meeting with the Cohasset Water Commission, and they had their concerns, and I think that, Greg addressed all those pieces at the meeting, and then I further discussed with them, and we certainly want to maintain a very good relationship with the town of Cohasset. We'd certainly want someone to protect our water supply. In that case, it might be Norwell. In the case of Cohasset, they're willing to share water with us, so we certainly have stakes going all the way around on that. And I think they were very pleased that we were taking the time and making sure we went through the process, and that they were informed as well. And they asked that in the future,
Right.
that they're part to that, and our engineers have information that they can share with each other, so. And something you need to reach out to Jeff Summers, the
Yeah.
Cohasset agent, and we sure that we collaborate when we have sites like
Right.
that.
So to clarify, if we do condition that we have a surveyor measure and stake this, then we'd be covered?
That would be after we close,
Okay,
and we individual writing
Okay.
conditions for the order.
All right, so I need a motion.
I would make a motion to continue to March 15th. But that's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
What time?
Oh, I'm sorry, 6:50 PM.
And the reason is to clarify this,
Right.
Does Paul
Septic.
need to return before we vote?
we got enough members.
I'm sorry?
There's enough members unless there's a controversy with that.
No, we have a second.
I was
So-
second.
All in favor of continuing this till what?
March 15th, 6:50.
Aye.
I believe the applicant's met its burden, so I would vote against a continuance.
Okay.
So we wait for Paul?
Well,
No, you wouldn't, I don't think.
I think there's three of you. Paul just told me he had an emergency call to make, so give me a vote of a continuance.
Yeah, one,
So it's
two,
3-1?
3, yeah,
4-1? Okay.
three.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate all your efforts to get all this information to us.
I'm sorry, what was the date for the continuance?
15th at 6:50.
6:50?
650.
Thank you.
Pitts, 94 Crescent Ave, raise and rebuild. On March 1st, 2016, at 7:20 PM at the Town Hall, the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Karen Pitts to raise and rebuild a dwelling located on property located at 94 Crescent Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Oh, my God. He's in the hospital. Why don't you go see him?
So this easel will be over here, if anybody's interested in seeing it, they probably ought to sit over this side. You're good where you are, Paul. As long as you put something on the easel.
Maybe burn up this deal. Maybe burn up on this.
Why don't you turn it so at least, I think if you turn a little bit more, then. Yep, I can, Matt, are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I can see it.
Me too.
You get eagle eyes.
Well, you should know what's on there.
The owner, owns an existing dwelling at number 94 Crescent Avenue, and this proposal is to raise and reconstruct that existing dwelling. The lot contains 12,122 square feet. The perimeter property line is outlined in yellow. This is the rear property line. Just to the east of the property line is this stone revetment. Each area is a stone revetment. This is the flat area of the stone revetment, which is also the top of the coastal bank. And the 50-foot buffer zone to the top of the coastal bank is shown in the here, and the 100-foot buffer zone is up in this area, the top of the bank. There's also scale to the tree on that. This is doing that from here up to the street. Below it, the velocity zone is elevation 18. That's the scale line. The 18-foot contour is down in here. On this proposal, we would keep the existing driveway that's shown in this area here. It actually goes all the way to the edge of the lawn, but this portion of the driveway would be eliminated. There'd be a small retaining wall to contain the grading of the lot in this location. And the house would be built closer to the street, further away from the 50-foot buffer zone than it is at the present time. This dashed line here is the overhang on the rear of the house, and this is the proposed location in this area here. So we're going to pull it forward about 4 or 5 feet in this area here.
Just to interrupt for a second, do you have one of those plans where you can show the existing and,
I do.
because I can't, it's hard to tell from these plans where you overlay it. For me, anyway, I don't know if it is for the rest of the commission.
Yep,
I'll-
let them get to that.
I'll show it to you in a moment. This is the only regrading of the site is down here at the end of the wall here. We're gonna build a wall up here, and we're gonna add about a foot of fill up against it, just so you don't have a 3-foot drop off the end of it. There'll be a swell, a grass swell along the edge of the property here, to let the water go into this area here. This is all stone. If you notice, this is the edge of the lawn. There's some photographs, and what happens, there's some overwash. There's small stone that washes up from the beach in the storms, and it's all been deposited here. So the water goes down to the stone and eventually into the riprap. The plan I prepared, I didn't do the overlay. There isn't much of a difference in the, I take that back. This is I did this for the numbers. We have a 24.2% increase in impervious area. This is, in the impervious area for the existing site was the driveway, which is paved. There's some sidewalks here, and then the existing house. That's a total of 2,909 square feet. In the proposed condition, we're going to keep the same driveway. We're going to pull this part back. Then we have the house in this area here. This is a total of 3,614 square feet. Again, if we do stormwater, we need a 25% increase in this number. So if you multiply this by 1.25, you come out with 3,636 square feet. The proposed is 3,614. So we're about 22 square feet under the 25%.
And that, is that a pathway that goes up from, on the back of the house? Yeah, that right there, yep.
It's a sidewalk. It's a sidewalk coming in from the street.
Oh, that's another sidewalk.
There's a sidewalk here.
Is the sidewalk coming from the street, is that paved or impervious?
Here? Yes, this is.
Okay.
These
So-
are stone steps, granite steps.
Okay.
Again, this is all based upon an on-the-ground field survey, which is required. So the project's straightforward. There's very little regrading because we were able to keep the driveway where it is. You know, with the exception of the rear portion that we had to put a wall in to contain the grade. Which is in this area right here. We're going to keep these grades here because the existing house is going to fit into the slope the way, I'm sorry, the proposed house will fit into the existing grade in a similar. This is on the side of the hill, and trying to do anything under that would be expensive because you'd have to regrade the whole site.
Bill?
I'm looking at the sky view of the house, and there, to the left, if I have the right house, to the left is that a driveway that goes from Crescent Ave all the way to the beach, almost?
Yeah, the existing driveway goes to the edge of the lawn here, and then you got some stone, some overwash in here. This is where the driveway ends, right at the end of the lawn. And what we're gonna do is remove this and put the wall and keep the existing driveway from here to the street. She has a garage under here. We'll come in, pull it back out and go.
Well, where's the septic on this?
It's not town sewer.
Okay, thank you.
Not used to hearing that a lot.
No.
Paul?
No questions.
Lisa?
How high is the proposed retaining wall?
Oh, how high is it?
Mm-hmm.
Elevation 23 is the top of wall.
The top of the wall here is 21. It's 23 over here. There's a grade coming at 21. If it's this in here, it'll be about 2 feet above the ground. And over here, it's gonna be about,
3
2.5
feet, yeah.
Lisa, that's heads up all. I didn't know we're putting in an additional wall there?
you know, we show a proposed retaining wall here to hold the grade up from the driveway.
The existing
Oh,
driveway?
I thought that,
What's holding it up now?
I thought that DEP wasn't letting us put
Up out in there.
walls in.
This year's a garage under.
Is, this may be a dumb question, but is the top of the retaining wall, which is impervious, in your
It's right on the beach.
calculations? That's in the calculations?
Good question, Counselor.
It's a V right up to the house, and then there's no A.
So the retaining wall's going
On
in
that
where the
side.
V is?
I mean, I don't want to
Down
kill
here
you
on
with
the
this
side.
question, but
On the side of, just
I
in this
thought, I
direction.
thought that our discussions were that parallel or perpendicular, you didn't want to see a
It's
wall.
in the X
V or A.
One zone I don't like.
Thank you.
Don't forget this is way above,
square
this is
footage
way
is
above
this?
the beach.
On the beach.
into,
But it's a,
okay, for the whole wall?
Yeah.
but it's,
Okay, okay.
it's on the X.
I didn't catch that.
And where does it say that?
Let
at?
alone.
Did you say?
So just so everybody knows, the proposed retaining wall, he's got it on here as 81 square feet.
Because it's just the top of the wall.
Yeah, so it's just the top.
Paul, can you explain how the coastal bank was calculated? Just a, brief description on that. Because we've had
I don't
several
understand
different
how
ones.
this is holding up anything.
So, if you have a slope over 25%, then you're on a coastal bank. What happens is, this is the beach area, it's fairly flat. Then you can see the riprap comes up from elevation, from about elevation 12. It jumps all the way up to about elevation 21.8. We have a benchmark here, and there's a small double line here. This is the flat area on the top of the stone revetment. From here, from here it actually drops down. This is like a small portion here. So from elevation 20, we call it 22, it actually drops off and goes down, and then the ground goes back up. The top of the coastal bank is the first observable break in elevation landward of this coastal bank. Because this is steep in here, this is flat. People can actually walk along here. So what happens is the grade comes up, it flattens out, and then it goes back down. This is how they determine it. In this case, it's easy to determine when you're on the revetments, because they usually come up, and they got a level area, and then they may keep going up. If they go up 2 or 3 times, you'd have 2 or 3 top of coastal banks. But this site only has the one level area. The top of coastal bank is at the first observable break in the coastal bank, which is here.
And then the new foundation is 50 feet off of that. Because bank stability is one of the things that, we're looking at.
Well, this house here is going to be pushed back further than the existing house was,
Yeah.
about 5 feet in this area here. This will be built to the FEMA standards, because you're along the coast. It also has to be built to the new wind standards, so we have 10-mile-an-hour wind loads. I think you all know, if you're gonna build a house on the coast, you build it a lot stronger than the wind.
So it's
goes
50
inland
feet,
Barbary
that's
Street.
39.8.
This is a fairly old
10
house,
feet.
this was
Yeah.
built back in the early 1800s. Still standing. This is a fairly new house as well, the old house here was raised and reconstructed, I'd say in the last 10 years.
Okay, I have a question, and maybe, I'm sure you can help me understand. So you have the existing concrete drive. You're you're shortening the concrete drive.
This is it right here. It's all the way here.
Yeah, so and then you're erecting a retaining wall that runs parallel with the seawall, and then it runs up along here.
And then there's
It-
a swell here, these arrows are like a grass swell, so water doesn't go onto their property.
But that's within the 50.
Hmm? Mm-hmm.
And what's, I'm sorry.
It's within 50 feet of the top of a coastal bank. The coastal bank is a structural resource area. In this case, it's a man-made seawall, the riprap. The actual driveway's down here. We're gonna pull this back about, these are the 10 scale, we're pulling this back about 10 feet or 12 feet, the paved area.
And
But isn't this within the 50 though?
Yeah, this is a 50-foot buffer, right?
Right here.
Right, so they're reducing the amount of pavement in the 50-foot.
And then they're adding concrete
Yeah.
as a retaining wall, which means there'll probably be a 6-foot footing underneath it
No.
within the 50.
Well, that wall's only about 3 feet high. It'd be 4 feet deep, but it'd be a standard footing, because, we don't have, it isn't like we're holding up a house. This wall here is 25 feet long, 16 plus 9, is 25 square feet. This area down here is considerably more.
What's the elevation, Pat?
Yeah, on the front of the wall?
Elevation says here it's 21.
Right.
Here, over here,
That's the scale velocity zone line. This is the FEMA line that comes off the map, if it's scaled. If we were doing an elevation certificate, we would go by this actual elevation.
If it's
here.
not up high.
That means this whole house is out,
Is it
well
getting
outside of
scaled
the
with all
velocity
these
zone.
rocks?
It's not in the
Yeah.
velocity zone now.
They're not.
Again, that's based upon doing elevation.
so everything from this line up is in an X, and then down here is velocity zone? Is that,
If you scale the line off the FEMA map, that's where it would be,
okay,
yes.
so this
There's a
area
lot
here
of
is
rock
velocity zone, and all this area here
in
is
the
X.
Yeah.
So when you
Okay.
think about it, how it
According
has
to
to
the
be in
scale,
proximity,
the scaled
for the
line,
beach to
if you
throw
go by
that
the
rock
actual
out there,
elevation of
can't
that
be.
velocity zone, it's way down here. These are actual elevations taken on the ground. If I was doing an elevation certificate, I would base all the grades around the house and inside the house upon these elevations. And as long as I'm above 18, I'd be outside the velocity zone. And you can see the house here is at 27.
Right, if you look at all these
22.
contour lines, most of this is out of the,
Yeah.
till you get down to this little spot. It's above elevation 18.
It's well above it. So if the proposed house is outside of any FEMA insurance district, which is why that's one of the reasons they want to pull it forward as well, in case they would change the maps.
In case.
In case.
Of course it will.
Would you want to add to this?
Just that there is slope toward the neighbor to the north there, and you have a proposed swell. Is that gonna cover all roof drainage and driveway runoff?
No,
so
any
that
concrete
they
in the
don't
50.
do anything?
What's that?
I don't understand why we're not allowing them to build.
Because he's gonna take, well, you could insist that he leave the pavement there if that makes you happier. He's gonna remove this pavement, but I suspect they need to do this to keep the driveway up when they cut away there.
Yeah.
So any
I think
water
that's
comes in
it,
here is
yeah.
going down
Yeah.
there already, they'll continue to do so. We aren't putting water on the neighbor's property, we can't do that.
Right. Can all those Rosa Rugosa plants on that side stay? Or is it the other side? The other side is Rosa Rugosa. That side is pines.
I'm willing to bet that's all lawn until it's
Yeah.
seawall.
How about to the other side of the house? There's a whole row of Rosa Rugosa. Is that all gonna go?
Well,
No, out on
Has
the
anybody
other
been out
side,
to
the other
this?
property line.
I
Yeah.
have not.
No.
Yeah.
some of them probably don't. Just put it back to landscaping.
Any roof drainage?
They may have gutters on the roof, I'm not sure how the architect is handling that yet.
I just have a foundation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't show any on this plan, but. Because the house uphill from this one sheds a lot of water onto this property, or did. So we don't want the same thing to happen as this
Now,
house.
having this wall here helps, because this is slightly above this grade here, but this swell here, ensures that any water coming out of this area here follows this path here, and it doesn't go this way. This house is pretty close to the property line as it is. But by putting the wall here and having the swale, the wall access is very friendly coming this way as well. So if he's getting some water now, and these grades don't indicate that he's getting much, but this will help.
I should wear a mask.
Open this up to the audience. Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments?
I'm sorry, this is the applicant, so you.
Hello.
Kevin Pitts.
So do you want to circle back to anything?
This is a larger question, and something that I brought up the last time, is that with the new updated FEMA maps coming out, or being updated as we go along, and the calculations for overwash, et cetera, do we take a look at that before we approve these things, or do we assume that that's already been addressed before?
Is the current map, did you use the current maps?
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is based upon the map the town meeting voted in last November. There's a note on the plan.
Okay.
But as far as like future, sea level rise, they don't have to meet that. We would encourage people to try to get another foot or two higher, but they
Well,
don't
this-
have to meet.
Well, this basement's already at 22.7 and the finished floor's at 30.6. I mean, this house is not
The
low.
FEMA flood zone is 18.
Right.
I can assure you we worked with the architect to make sure that not only were we pulling it back from the ocean, but that we were taking that into consideration. We don't want to pay the flood insurance, nor do we want to, put the house in jeopardy.
Sure. Thank you. Anybody else want to add anything to this?
Nope, good.
Did I see erosion control? Yeah, I did. Silt socks wrapped right around the whole site.
That's the purple line.
Yep.
The only thing, Pat, did you want to see something to address the roof runoff?
Well, I'm gonna be checking on the size increase too, to see if stormwater is
Right.
triggered.
Okay.
I mean, I think Paul does the calculation, we just have to verify it.
There's no part of this property in the V zone.
Just, where the pink line is, or whatever it is?
No, it's the
Big
orange.
Orange, it's the orange line, I think.
This is,
So there's a piece of the wall.
and this is the scaled line on the FEMA maps. The maps are they're somewhat general in nature, but when we do an elevation certificate, and we do have to do one in the post-construction, we're gonna look at elevation 18. And we're gonna take elevations of the ground around the house, and we're gonna show that the ground of the house here is 27, and the low point over here is 23.2, which is way above 18. So based on that, she wouldn't have to have flood insurance. But if you have a mortgage, the mortgage company's gonna look at the FEMA map, and they're gonna see this line, and they say it's close enough for them to have to get flood insurance unless they can prove otherwise. That's why we do the elevation certificate, so she doesn't get hit with a high premium for new construction.
Is the retaining wall in the V zone?
A portion of it is here.
Yes.
But it's above the elevation,
Yeah.
because it's elevation 18, and the wall is up at 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'd like to add, and I think Pat made the comment that, you're pretty close, Paul, with the impervious surface, the change, and we're obviously concerned about the stormwater issue. The big one is the paved driveway.
Well, that driveway's paved now, we're gonna keep it.
I understand it's paved now, but the house is a lot smaller. So I think that you could go a long way to working on some of the drainage from that driveway. I'm not quite sure how you deal with it, but right now that driveway pitches right down to the retaining wall. And so anything that comes off that driveway is headed right to the ocean. I realize that there's a stone area that's here to make sure that gets observed, but I think I'd like to see something at the end of that driveway, whether it's some sort of rain garden, some sort of filtration thing. I'd be more worried about the water that came off that driveway in terms of impurities or whatever, than water coming off the roof of this house.
We could, just as a suggestion,
Yeah, right here, you could probably leave a hole.
we could cut the pavement in here and maybe put some infiltrators in here.
I think that there should be something at the end of
and
that.
then come back this way.
Right.
Something should happen at the end of that driveway, so when the water comes down that slope, it isn't just bouncing off that retaining wall and running right into the crushed stone. That would be my suggestion.
I mean, what it's doing now, I mean, I don't know.
I understand what it's doing now,
Yeah, no,
but you're jumping up with a much larger home and a much greater impervious surface, so you're really pushing the envelope, and there's just some ways to deal with that,
I think that's a smart idea, we're, more than open to.
Yeah, that's probably a perfect place, right at the end of the driveway, abutting your retaining wall to
do we-
capture some water.
Probably a small trench drain in there, and then we go into an infiltration system below it.
something that would catch that. It's the impurities that are in that driveway, car's gonna have some oil, whatever the case may be, and all that water coming down, and, it is glacial till, so any amount of water that flows towards that area can be disruptive to the bank. So any way to stabilize that, or better stabilize it, would be a good idea.
That's a pretty simple design to do.
Okay. I mean, we could even make that part of the orders, so. It's about the only one that I can see that would help that along. Anything else?
I'm good.
Do we want to close this, put that and could run with that? I don't see any reason not to. You are doing pretty well. You should go get a lottery ticket. You got the biggest grin on your face going.
Make a motion to close.
Second?
Second.
Go console Greg, will you?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Let's not mix these up, Lisa.
Okay, here we go.
Control yourself.
There you go. I can't help it, so excited.
These two?
Oh, this do. Oh, there's your clip. If you really squeeze it hard,
Easy.
you could get the clip on there.
I know what you meant.
We had somebody from Great Rock Island.
We know.
Yes.
Oh, I recognize that guy.
Yeah. Sitting here a while.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman Snow and committee members. My name is Brian Host. For the record, I live at 29 Heather Drive in Cohasset. I'm also the new owner of record for the property at Great Rock Island. And it's my understanding that before you tonight is an administrative matter, not a hearing, so I'm here alone really just out of respect for the fact that this item's on your agenda, and if it's good enough for your time, then I felt it was appropriate to
Great.
attend.
Thank you.
There's really nothing more to say than that, other than I'm really excited about this site. It's
Brownie points anyway, right?
It's a beautiful piece of property that I admired from the water on the backside for many years. And when it became available, I had the good fortune to end up the new owner. So I'm looking forward to working with you to do something really special out there.
Yeah, we all had the pleasure of walking out
All
there to
walked it,
inspect
yeah.
that. It was last year. It was last,
A couple
a
years
couple
ago.
years ago, yeah.
And we assume we'll be able to continuously walk it in the future.
Frank and I were
Arguably-
thinking deer stands out there.
I did find a deer stand
Yeah.
out there.
Arguably one of
I'm
the
a hunter, so I
prettier
was fine with it.
properties that I've seen in Scituate. I mean, just incredible piece of property.
Well, Pat and I had the opportunity to walk around with Mr. Host and his builder and talk about roads and stuff, and, his concerns for how he develops it, and
It'd be a
things that
challenge.
we appreciate. Well, but more than that, he's looked at less impact than what was proposed on the plan, so we're looking forward to hearing back on some of those pieces as well.
Absolutely.
So really, there's the first hill and then the second hill. So the island is both of those, right? I mean, that's one piece of property, right?
There are actually 2 islands that are 2 separate lots.
Okay. Okay, so yours would be the,
And there's,
He's on the Great Rock.
there's more, actually, I own both of them.
Oh,
The-
okay,
the-
okay.
The property package and the title that I took
Gotcha.
possession of is
Oh, okay.
for both islands. There's a right-of-way that goes way back across the marsh from Great Rock to Little Rock, but there's no permitting in place or plan that's being developed vis-à-vis Little Rock.
So this is an extension of his RDA?
Yep.
I mean, NOI.
NOI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orders and conditions.
It's the order of conditions. Yeah, so I've been, just to put this in perspective, I acquired this property at the point in time that was chosen by the seller, not by me. And I made the decision to buy it, but I've taken my time to really get to know the property. I didn't have a vision for what I wanted to do out there. I didn't have a vision necessarily for the exact construction that or location to place it. So I've just taken my time. I've probably spent 30 walks out there, 4 seasons, moon tides, no tides, just to really observe
Get a
it
feel, yeah.
and get a feel for it. I mean, it's easy to sort of farm this out to your engineer and your architect, and they drop the plans and you hire the builder and you come out when it's done. But you end up making mistakes that way relative to what's there in the beginning. And so I've taken my time. I've also been, careful to make sure that I extend the permits. And, this permit was put in place, well before I purchased the island, and it's time to extend it. So that request is in front of you.
well, you brought up some interesting perspectives I don't think many people have brought up since we've been on this board, so we're looking forward to working with you on this.
So how much time,
I think it's 3, Carol.
3 years.
So 3 years, yeah.
so a motion to...
Motion to extend 1 Great Rock Island for 3 years to 3/20/20.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
thanks a lot for
Absolutely.
coming in and sitting through
Thank
this.
you. And-
3 hours.
Well, I sit on a committee in the next town over, and I have immense respect for the time that you spend.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So what do we want to jump through to get through the rest of this evening as quickly as possible?
Want to keep you here?
Yeah, why did I pick the Conservation Commission?
That's what she's sitting thinking, yes.
Coastal Advisory, I think we finally have a meeting scheduled.
14th, night before our next meeting, so,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah. Beach Committee, not much going on there this time of year.
No, but Pat and I sat in at a elevation meeting last night with Scituate residents run by Nancy and Bob Vogel, and answered some questions from the residents about FEMA grants, et cetera.
Just need some money from FEMA.
I was gonna say, is there any money out there?
It may
Yeah.
not be for a while.
That's too bad.
Wait till they pay me, and then we'll work on it from there.
This is where the money went.
Yeah.
1921 Peggotty, thank you, Bill.
Yep.
I have a meeting with Jen tomorrow on this.
Okay.
The piles down on the beach is still there, and then the ones up on the lot haven't been touched, so they did what we asked. But the ones down below, at 30 Peggotty, there's a lot of junk in there.
Okay. 24 Webster, you wanna, there's really not much to update at this.
There's a draft letter that I can get out to, that one, and, what's the other one? 190, I can get out to you by Friday.
Okay.
Is that
Oh, wait a
letter,
minute, sorry. Thinking of Russo's property. Which one is it? 24 Webster. 24 Webster, we had a meeting.
right.
Yeah, we had a meeting, a site visit out there this week. No letter, meeting, so.
Okay.
We're waiting to hear back from the property owner. He and his attorney were gonna maybe propose something.
Okay. Gilson Road Culvert, any movement?
Yeah, it's, Kevin has put it out to a design engineer. I'm not sure which company it was. So they're designing it. And then Jason from Coastal Zone Management's gonna make sure that it's, meets all code before they submit it. There's just design money at this point, no construction on that. But I think Kevin was gonna try to do it out of his budget at one point.
We don't really care how they pay for it.
Yeah, that's the
We
bad
just like to
spot.
make sure he permits it correctly, that's all.
That's right, that's a bad spot though, that one.
Yeah, that'd be good
That
to
needs
get
to
that.
get, that needs to get done, yep.
On the trails, I had a great meeting with, and Penny and I met with the Miniers and the Matthews, and they've done a ton of work. They've got a bunch of ideas and proposals together. They're gonna finish formulating those, and then they'd like to come in and meet with us probably later in March and talk about how to implement some of that. They've got ideas for new volunteers. They are just chomping at the
Really
bit.
good, yeah,
And,
done a lot.
and we spent a lot of time looking over their thoughts and really looking forward to working with a new group of people on this. And they're actually anxious to get started. There's probably some places where we could have them start on a couple new trails in advance of our parking and
It's
whatnot.
like our own open space.
Yeah, if you guys are gonna meet with them either out there or at all, I'd love to get a chance to
Well, we're gonna have,
meet
a-
'em.
we're gonna have a
Yeah.
public meeting. They're gonna come here, present their thing, and then we're gonna have a public meeting talking about our access and parking areas.
We should do it,
Which
like we
Penny's-
did that last time.
Yeah.
You know, out to church there or whatever.
Penny's been pushing that one right along. The bad news to the parking and access areas is that the monies that were appropriated through CPC aren't all clear that they should be used for that purpose. In other words, some of them were for buying the property as opposed to the roads, and so the recommendation is that all the monies that were left over from those different purchases get returned. I've spent a bunch of time with Nancy Hoyt. She feels the best way is to return that money and then ask for it to be revoted for the purpose of building the roads and the access. So unfortunately, we just can't take it from one checkbook and put it in the other,
Yeah.
in the town of Scituate.
But you,
So-
yeah, you explained that to us last week.
So we'll get
Hopefully
there.
that'll go through,
Yeah,
yep.
thanks for doing that, Frank, that was a lot of
Well,
time.
we're getting there.
Yeah, that was a big deal though.
But these, and I think we're really fortunate that these guys are ready to ramp up and,
Yeah.
and they've got people behind them, and unlike before where we've talked about it a lot, this one seems like it's gonna be a good way to go. Private well and irrigation isn't for tonight because it's late, but I do think it's something, you know, we really need to talk about a little bit more. We've gotten feedback, we've gotten mailings. I know, we're not the Water Resource Commission, but certainly conservation has a big part in that. And I'd like to spend more time, maybe not outside of a regular meeting, but having some conversation with our water department, our water resources, maybe some sort of workshop group to see if we can't get somewhere with the use of private.
They actually, have a draft proposal. No, never mind. But they had that on their agenda last night too. They want to start looking at that.
Right.
Just some food for
You guys
thought.
have a joint-
I think it would be good, I mean, we've had that, the Water Resources Board had a whole list of things that they asked for endorsements, and we did, with the exception of how we deal with the private wells. And I think we'd like to have that conversation with not only them, but the water department and water commissioners, to kind of come bring our heads together on some of that.
Just some food for thought. I know we're not done with winter yet, but with a lack of adequate snowpack, we may find ourselves in another water situation
Well,
or
certainly fresh on
prolonged
everybody's
water.
mind, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll,
I think, did I hear that John Clarkson, he's off water resources now?
Yeah.
He was on, yes.
Oh, do they have anybody coming into the LA committee?
They had, we appointed 2 new members this year,
Oh.
so they're still pretty robust.
great.
Yeah.
I should get an email just because we send a lot of stuff to them and I've been sending it to
Becky
John.
was appointed the chair, they elected Becky, I can tell you. I don't know how her last name.
That's okay, I can get it from
Becky's
you.
the chair, and, Mike Clark is the vice chair.
Really?
Mike Clark?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Well, that ought to lead to some interesting conversation. It's good. I think it's good. Mike served on the commission here and has a lot of good, we just need
He's
some
very knowledgeable.
real good information and thought would be
Yeah.
helpful. Okay. So that ticks off all our other administrative pieces. Orders of conditions?
I make a motion to accept the orders of conditions for Kwiatkowski, 19 Hillcrest Road.
Wait a second.
Second.
Pat, we're good?
Yep.
Okay, yep,
We
second.
wrote 'em, so we agree with them.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the orders of conditions for Asaph, 22 Hatherley Road.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So how are we making out with
These
Russo's?
next two drafts letters for you guys to just review, and I can send them Friday or Monday.
Beautiful,
All right.
beautiful.
And then a certificate of compliance for the safety building?
It's partial.
Is it draft, or does the letter come finalized, Carol, for that, the partial? It's fine, do they have it?
Yes,
We,
I saw it today.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
all right.
right.
Yeah, they wanted to know what was left to do and what was completed.
How are we doing with the trail that they're supposed to build for us?
That's outstanding, that's gonna be the last step.
Be careful with those guys.
Oh, I know.
And,
So, excuse me, but if we give them a partial, what does that actually cover?
Well, the stormwater structures are all in, but the grass hasn't been planted on top of it, so it's not functioning the way it is, but they have put it all together. They've put in, the septic system is in. So it's
EOH
just a
signed
partial,
off,
like you're on schedule, you haven't done anything outrageous, and they need that for an occupancy permit. They need all the departments to say, yeah, we're good with where you are. So
Okay.
well,
then they'll be
they ought to
fine.
not tear down the old police station until, they might be moving back if they don't get it. What do you think? 48 Ocean Ave?
Mike, yeah. This, yeah, this one, there was the final.
Oh, that was the-
Final language on this one
Yeah.
was that he has to do off-site
Right.
mitigation
Mitigation.
after meeting with us and
Right.
DPW.
DPW, right.
Maybe storm septic.
We gotta get onto that.
Yeah, well, the winter, they probably wouldn't have gotten to.
No,
it.
but I mean, we gotta get him and get
Yeah.
it, resolved. Maybe he needs to escrow some money or something like that,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah,
Would be the best bet.
because we didn't mention amount,
Well-
we should get an amount.
Yeah, I think Frank had said, you know, if we take a look at what it would have cost, you know, to do other
Yeah,
things, then
yeah.
kind of gauge it around there someplace, yeah.
All
Okay?
right, want me to email them and tell them that we wanna?
Yep.
Does that mean we're issuing or not?
I think we escrow some money and issue it.
Yeah, we didn't even tell them, we just told them you had to
5,000.
agree to it.
Ask him to escrow $5,000, and
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think
would be
we,
my advice.
As long as he deposits that into escrow, then we'll issue.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything else, Frank?
I think that's it.
Couple of things, the dredge amendments, it's quick.
Is that on that, is that on the?
Yeah, it's on the,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
at
you
the
did.
top.
The, Marshfield has an order of conditions for the dredging of the river, but because the middle of the river we own to, we're part of it. And they were pumping it, blowing it onto the beach, but now that didn't work, so now they're gonna have to truck it. So by trucking the stone that they dig out through the towns, abutters haven't had a chance to weigh in on that. Do we wanna make an amendment or a revised plan? They also have to use ramps, boat ramps now to drop down, to have the stuff loaded on. So,
a lot more expensive too.
But Pat,
but we talked about maybe we could just do a mailing and have a meeting rather than a full.
but-
Right, because the whole plan is still the same, they're just
Right.
changing the means.
Right.
right, and really, I believe that the trucking would be on the Marshfield side of the river. So would they
Right,
even
more
really,
important That we have them.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
No
my
way-
point is, they aren't actually gonna be in Situate.
Yeah,
Right,
well, within
right.
100 feet.
That's
yeah,
true.
so,
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if Marshfield's gonna have an amended hearing, I'm not sure what they're gonna do.
That's interesting.
I mean, if it's not impacting anything that is gonna situate, I think we can amend the orders for that piece.
Yeah, it's CLE, and we could, I could
Well, they
talk
should,
to
they need to
Rob.
tell us.
right, and if you look at the whole scope of the project, the equipment they use is,
Yeah.
you know, it wasn't all predicated on it has to be a suction dredge. It was like, this is gonna be the width of the channel,
gonna be-
the depth, right, when they're gonna do it, yeah.
All right, I'll talk with her, say that we all talked about it in simple, but as long as people are notified.
We can't use that for nourishment or stabilization?
Oh, it's going to
or-
Wrexham, that was the deal.
That came up, that if they don't want it all, Nancy talked to Tricia about trying to make sure we get some of it if they don't want
Okay.
it all. But
It is,
I think they're first.
It's tricky.
yeah, and it is, not to say we wouldn't want it, but it's cobbled, that's the problem there. The rest of the river, they were actually using a suction dredge and sending
yeah,
sand.
yeah.
It won't do these boulders and all the rocks, so,
Right, maybe we could get a truck though.
right.
Okay.
We'll get you some cobble,
Yeah.
maybe.
We need more of anything.
And
Yeah.
where would we put
You
it?
know, there's a
Lisa's
meeting about,
driveway.
Right
uh,
at the end of
driveway, Lisa.
Fourth Cliff.
My driveway.
there's a Humrock meeting coming up.
Yeah.
Yes, there is, the 28th.
Nancy's,
And
yep.
they-
A what meeting?
Site, they were trying to get it.
Nancy for the-
But it's closed in the winter, there's no
Yeah.
heat.
FEMA elevation grant.
St. Mary's maybe,
I don't remember where she said, but I saw her note that it's the
but
28th.
that's planning for getting stone and sand out there.
This is a meeting for Humrock?
Humrock,
Or that Nancy's running.
raising the road and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's March 28th?
March 28th.
Raising Central End.
Okay.
They have money for that?
Raising meaning rip it out or raise?
They have the money for that, Pat?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
There's money for that?
Complicated.
It is.
All right.
Not yet,
It's
Right,
9
I have a dream.
Last, did you have one more, Pat?
yeah.
It does not.
Hunter's Dam vote, there's like 8 federal and state agencies involved in this, and they're insisting that we revise our order of conditions because they changed the date because of the time of year fish return. So I told them that it's pretty simple, we'll just put a slip.
If they had just
in the
taken the
file.
down things out when there was no water in there, we'd be over with.
Yeah. So it's 15 days, they change it by 15 days, and we snuck the letter into our file and set it
Alright.
up. So you guys just wanna vote on that and say,
Yep.
revised plan, Hunter's Dam, time of year.
I make a motion that
Do
we
what he
That's
said.
good enough.
Just do what he said.
do what Pat said.
Second.
With regard to Hunter's Pond Dam.
In regard to Hunter's
And
Pond.
one last thing is the update on the public safety.
Wait, do we have to vote on that? Just vote on it.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Public safety, there was a spill on the side of the road,
Right.
it's into the sidewalk, so, Jen has been meeting with them, I've been talking with them. 3 of the wells were good, 1 wasn't great, so they're pumping out, they did a lot of pumping, I don't know how many thousands of gallons. But there's an engineering firm working on it under a DEP emergency order.
The only thing that they could do to make that a little better would be not park their truck in the area that we have as a wetland.
Yeah, oh, they were on the.
Yeah,
off side
the
of
pickup's parked right in the middle of the, I mean, it's the shoulder of the road, but
Right.
technically it's a wetland there.
I guess there's already
But what are you gonna
calls
do? You
coming in.
gotta clean the place up and,
There's already calls coming in.
What's that
though, 'cause
Vietnam
trucks are
saying? In
fine,
order
so-
to save the wetland, we need to destroy it.
Make a motion to adjourn?
all right, well, you've kept us updated and it does look like they're onto it, so. Okay,
Second?
all in favor?
I-
Aye.